Hello, hello, hello. All right. Everyone can hear me okay? We're keeping our streak going of not being that late. Not being that late. It was what? Scheduled for 14 minutes ago, and here we are 14 minutes later. Not too bad. All right, everybody. Who enjoyed the chapter? Who enjoyed the chapter? I thought this was a great chapter. And the best part... Okay, who was a spoilers reader for this chapter? Who was reading spoilers before this? K-Boo asks, where can we scale Morge to? There is a series of videos, live streams in fact, that are about me versus the Straw Hats, me versus the Admirals. So far I have a pretty clean record. I beat most characters. I'm not going to get into the details here, but you can actually watch the streams. I break down in depth how I would defeat most of the One Piece top tiers. Okay, so all right, so the fun thing about spoilers this week, this week I was not safe from spoilers whatsoever. It was flooded. It was everywhere. And I'm not one of those people that takes great lengths to try and avoid spoilers, just because I don't know. And lots of people don't even do the tags and stuff like that, like like tag it to make sure that people don't get spoiled. A lot of people don't even do that. They don't have the courtesy. So I just stopped trying at a point. But I think the most fun thing about this week, chapter-wise, was before the chapter came out. It was, and I'll get supers in a second. Let's get the stream likes up to 100. Before the chapter came out, it was an absolute, I've never seen this before, absolute roller coaster of agenda back and forth. It was just, I'd never seen, with every new word that was dropped about the chapter, every new little bit of dialogue, every new tidbit of information, every little morsel of knowledge about any given interaction in the chapter, you would see the pendulum swing back and forth, back and forth. For those of you who don't know, let me fill you in. Basically, like, news comes in that, like, the news comes in initially that, like, Zoro is still fighting Lucci. This has Zoro haters, Sanji fans, whatever, going into an absolute frenzy that Zoro's still stalling Lucci, and then people are making fun of him, things going back and forth, etc. Then you get this news that, wait, Zoro revealed that he said something like, I'm deciding the duration of this battle. I get to decide how long the fight is. So then you get the pendulum swinging back the other way, with everyone clowning on Zoro haters, being like, see, Zoro, he's just toying with Lucci, he's just keeping him at bay, just to, control the situation, etc., for whatever headcanon reasons, right? He's just fucking around. He's messing with Lucci. And then we get news, is Zoro using, is he using Advanced Conqueror's Haki? Does he have the bandana on? That was its own whole thing. I swear there was like an 8-hour stint where people were going back and forth power scaling bandana Zoro versus non-bandana Zoro. And then now we get to today when the chapter's actually out, and it turns out that... yeah, Zoro does say the line about, like, I control the duration of the fight, but he also says that he's in a hurry, and he's also getting roasted by Lucci, and it also very clearly looks like he is exerting effort, at least with the blood and the sweating and the panting and all of that stuff. It does not seem like Zoro is... I think you would have to be a deep Zoro, like, a deep Zoro fanboy to go as far as to say that Zoro is toying with Lucci, or that this is a low diff fight at this point. Whatever. Let's pray for Zoro that he ends this next chapter. Let's just fucking leave it at that, all right? And then the flip side of things is, like, I can, if you're a Sanji fan, you must feel like you're living in a dream right now. It can't feel real. You've been shit on for so long, so many arcs. When was the last time you guys felt this good? I feel like like the moment that Sanji tanked a Jinbei S Shark Fist, I think that's the closest, but even that's not even close to this, because you get a chapter where Zoro is not struggling with a character who is clearly a lot weaker than Kizaru, who Sanji just clearly impressed with a feat that we are supposed to take as very, very impressive, right, against a top tier, right? This must feel surreal. I feel like a lot of you must be thinking you're in, like, the Upside Down world or something like that. I don't know how. I mean, how did Sanji fans even survive this long? Like, it's been such a desert, a fucking Sahara for you guys, right? It must feel really good right now. All right, let's catch these. Let me catch the memberships first. Thomas Davis, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 9 months. I don't know, man. Luffy going googly-eyed at Vegapunk dying on the floor doesn't feel right. He said he'd protect him. Can Gear 5th not have anything serious? I will direct everybody in the stream to my latest video, which I think is even more relevant than ever right now. I should have waited 1 fucking week before releasing this, because this video, I think it's so relevant. Like, I feel like everything that I said in the video was essentially proven this chapter, which is, it is like, just the way that Gear 5th is written, it is fundamentally difficult to have tension, because the natural manner is, it's a joke form, it's a comedy form, it's a gag form. You cannot write Gear 5th the way Gear 5th is and still maintain a serious tone, right? Like, if the writing for Gear 5th is that Luffy, his eyes will pop out when he's shocked, that's what you're gonna get, and that's a joke moment, which means that it's undercutting the seriousness of the moment, right? Now, what's also funny is that Luffy did have one moment where he does get a little bit serious this chapter, where he puts on a serious face and he punches Saturn, right? What did I say in my video? And I'm pasting the video right here. What did I say in my video? I said in the video, the one serious moment in Luffy's fight against Kaido was Bajrangan, and Oda was only able to make that moment somewhat serious because Bajrangan is not like normal Gear 5th attacks. It's not like some jokey, cartoony, zany, like Tom and Jerry type shenanigan thing. It's like the only Gear 5th attack that he did that was like a normal, like, classic Luffy attack, like a Gear 3rd punch or King Kong gun or something like that, right? Same thing this chapter. He's like, Luffy has to do a serious move, so he's not doing, like, you know, the silly stuff like he's doing against Lucci, like putting out goggles or whatever. He's just doing a fucking Gatling attack like he used to, like a Jet Gatling or a Gomu Gomu Storm or whatever. So it's kind of like, you have Gear 5th, it's for all of these joke moves and stuff like that, but then when it's time for actually serious moments, you have to turn all of that off and then just do normal shit, like normal Luffy attacks. And in that case, what's even the point of the Gear 5th form if anytime it actually matters, you're just going to be writing Luffy like he would normally fight? You get what I'm saying? It's a sort of, it's just like this Gear 5th paradox. But again, in the video, I outlined the reasons why I think it can work in the future. Because I don't think, you know, I don't think the situation, like, I don't know. It was weird seeing Luffy have that reaction, like, with the Vegapunk scene and everything like that. And, like, he's literally laughing while like, he's laughing over the course of the scene, right? Like, I can't imagine him doing that if it was, like, normal base Luffy with Vegapunk bleeding out on the ground, right? I've seen people being like, well, he's not laughing at Vegapunk. It's not about if he's laughing at Vegapunk or not. It's just, if your friend is fucking bleeding out on the floor, you just wouldn't be laughing in general, right? But Gear 5th Luffy is. So again, in the video, I made a case for why this would be okay going forward and the scenarios going forward. I think it's more of a hard sell now. Like, this chapter has me even rethinking some things with the defense I put forward of Gear 5th. But I still think most of the video still applies. It's just the critiques now apply more than the defenses that I put up. Sorry, let me keep catching these things. I don't wanna fall behind here. Okay, hold on 1 second. Stride Shaco, thanks for being a member for 16 months. Could Blackbeard be a buccaneer? Could explain weird body. Yes, I definitely think Blackbeard's a buccaneer. It explains things like why he was able to eat the extra devil fruit. It explains 3 things, right? Why he was able to eat the extra devil fruit. It explains the no sleeping thing, because buccaneers seem to have some sort of dual like extra levels to their consciousness or their body or something like that. That seems to be also why Kuma is able to survive the experimentation, like his consciousness is able to survive the experimentation by Vegapunk. And then lastly, it would explain a lot of Blackbeard's goals in history, because the Buccaneer tribe is the one that is most closely tied to the age of Joy Boy. It's possible Joy Boy himself was a Buccaneer, the legend of Nika, etc. So Blackbeard's goals and dreams could very well fit if he's a Buccaneer. Eric, thanks for being a member, a Yonko tier member for 4 months. Sup, Morge, had to stop reading as soon as I saw Sanji versus Kizaru because I was too busy fangirling around my room. Embarrassing, but true. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, if you're a Sanji fan, this just does, it makes no sense, right? Like, what's even happening? Is this some sort of early April Fool's joke? Let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick, by the way. We got 700 people in here. Let's get the stream likes up to 100. Timothy McQueen, always good to see you, man. And thank you for, instead of a pop quiz, you're just gifting 5 memberships. Holy shit. Thank you so much, man. I really, really appreciate it. As does everybody that was gifted. BeatGamer99, Say thank you to Timothy McQueen. I can't say this name because it's in Japanese or some language I don't understand, but say thank you to Timothy McQueen. Tandil Nosa, K-Nerb, everybody say thank you. And Tala, yeah, I'm surprised Tala, yeah, Tala say thank you. Alright, let me paste this video. I strongly encourage people go watch it after this chapter. Just think on it. We've got some thinking on Gear 5th to do. I should have waited till after this chapter to drop the video, but it is what it is. Should have waited, then you have more stuff to talk about. It does affect some of the defenses that I put up for Gear 5th. Anyway, Jordan Taylor, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 17 months. Been busy lately, finally back for a stream. Glad to see you're not dead, lol. No. I'm not dead, I'm very much alive. Thanks for supporting for 17 months, man. Holy shit. Your support keeps me alive, so... I'm joking, don't take that seriously, but I appreciate the support. Yeah, let me catch up on supers real quick. And let's get the stream likes up to 200. Sorry, things are moving a little bit slow here. Kia says, he said lineage, though. Isn't that more tied to his family rather than his race? Let's wait for his, I think both could be, I think both fly. Let's, unless the Marshall D line specifically is something special. But yeah, maybe let's wait for the official before I jump the gun on that. But I've felt like Blackbeard's a Buccaneer ever since we got the bit about Kuma and his consciousness potentially being able to survive Vegapunk's experimentation. Because the only way that would really work is if it's something like Blackbeard where there's multiple bodies or multiple something. You know? Tofi2000, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 15 months. I do hope Blackbeard's goal is not something like, I'm going to conquer the world. I would hate if he follows the tyrant villain role. So one thing that has to be remembered is that what was reported, and this goes to my video that's coming out next week, because I think with this chapter, a million things just came together for Blackbeard. I'm not going to get into detail about that because it's next week's video. But I had fun writing next week's video. So spoilers is going to be on Blackbeard and his total plan, because I think his total plan is very interesting. It has to be remembered that Rox's plan was to become king of the world. At least that's what was told to us by Sengoku. Sengoku might be under some misinformation. He might not know. He might have fallen into some propaganda, but that's at least what Sengoku believes that Rox's goal was. That's what it was generally believed that Rox's goal was, right? Blackbeard follows in Rox's footsteps. That doesn't necessarily mean they have the same goal, but it could imply that. And there's certain lines that Blackbeard has said in the past that suggest that that could very, very much be the case. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Let me catch these supers. Batman for real, thanks for the 5. Let's start the stream nice and toxic. Wanji stocks up, Zolo stocks plummeting. I think we can all safely acknowledge that, right? That's just true. With this chapter, it is the highest I've ever seen Sanji stocks. Sanji stocks are also tend to, in a long time, since pre-time skip, let's say. Sanji stocks also tend to be relative to Zoro stocks. That's just the way it is. Like, if Zoro has bad showings, then that Sanji stocks are up. If Sanji has good showings and Zoro has bad showings, it's like Sanji stocks are doubly up. This is the highest Sanji stocks have ever been. I would just say cherish this. Hold this moment dear to your heart. If you're a Sanji fan, just like revel in this week. Go outside, like breathe in the air. Do whatever you gotta do. Just let this sink in. I don't think this will be the norm going forward. Maybe we get another couple weeks of this or something like that. But I would say that in a few, like, at the end of the day, you know it's Zoro. Zoro is ultimately just gonna look better at the end of the day. In the long run, it's just a losing game, I think. So if you're a Sanji fan, get your kicks in, etc. Maybe don't antagonize too much because you just know that things are going to be flipped around at some point. But there's no way to spin it right now. This is the worst Zoro has ever looked in comparison to Sanji in as long as I can ever remember. Like in post-time skip at the very least. Relatively speaking, right? And you know, like, let's put things in perspective. Zoro's, it's not even that bad. He's just fighting Lucci, who's an opponent that was able to hold out against a Yonko for a couple chapters. Granted, a Yonko that wasn't going that hard. And at the very least, I think one thing is clear, which is that Zoro's not using Advanced Conqueror's Haki. The simple panel of him and Lucci clashing, like visibly clashing fist to sword, that makes it very clear that Zoro is not using Advanced Conqueror's Haki. If you flip and go back to looking at Zoro versus King, there's a panel where, like, once Zoro starts using Advanced Conqueror's Haki, there's a panel where Zoro's sword is clashing with King's sword, and Zoro uses Advanced Conqueror's Haki, and their swords separate. That's what it would look like if Zoro was using Advanced Conqueror's Haki. So I think it's very clear, unless Oda's being wildly inconsistent, which is also very possible, I do think that Zoro is not using Advanced Conqueror's Haki right now. Does not change the fact that he is clearly not having the easiest time. Not an easy, like, you can't spin this as like Zoro is easily handling Lucci. It is easily like a mid difficulty fight, or potentially, depending on how much further things go, higher than that. I don't know. Stormfox, thanks for the 2. How do you beat Saturn? He just heals from everything. You could drop him to the bottom of the ocean. I feel like that's very, very possibly where this ends up heading. Yeah, just Saturn being sent to the bottom of the ocean. I think that's entirely plausible. Behenor, thank you. My favorite scene this week, the commanders of the 2 main villains of the story, Emu and Blackbeard, talking lore piece and just interacting in general. It is a really, really cool little scene, because it's the 2 big bads that we know are coming up, right? The Blackbeard pirates and the Celestial Dragons, the Gorosei, right? And so far, it's really felt like the Gorosei and the Celestial Dragons are the bigger of the 2 bads. But the Blackbeard pirates really just flexed on them, and it really felt like, yeah, we're coming. Like, you know, you guys have the world right now, but we're shooting for it. This was a message moment. It felt really big. I don't know. I felt confident for the longest time. I felt confident that Blackbeard's the final villain. Then I started shifting over and having more and more difficulty imagining that. I started feeling like, okay, Emu is probably the final villain, even though I'm personally partial to the idea of Blackbeard as the villain. But I got on board the Emu train. I think there's now a window opening up to the possibility again of the Blackbeard pirates being the final villains. I think the possibility is now once again there. And let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Brian Field, thanks for the 5. Blackbeard is looking a lot more like the final villain after this chapter. He's clearly planning something insane. Any ideas on what Blackbeard's ultimately plan is? I don't want to share anything here. That's all I'll say, just because that's next week's video. So I can't say anything. As for whether I think Blackbeard's the final villain or not, I would still bet more money on Im. But I now think that, like, before I had, once upon a time, I was like, 100% it's going to be Blackbeard. Then as the story progressed, I was just like, it seems more likely that it's going to be Im, and maybe Blackbeard still got like a 10% shot. Now I think Blackbeard might be in it with like a 30 to 40% shot. But I would still lean towards Im. Zolden, thanks for the 2. Thanks, Morge. As a Sanji fan, I feel seen. Yeah, I think that, like, Sanji fans have to feel good this chapter. I've been saying that, but it's just, you know, it's the way it is. Gunner455, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 9 months. The world from VA/C8 from Van Augur was so great for some reason. No idea how Luffy and Blackbeard will go as we go in the story, and great content from Morge like usual. Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it. The world. Yeah, I think that was the coolest panel in a chapter filled with some... Actually, I don't think this chapter had a ton of cool panels. I think that was the coolest panel. It had a lot of good moments and, you know, plot developments, obviously. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200. Tala, thanks. Zoro admits Sanji's stronger. I don't think that's ever going to be the case that Zoro would admit that, but let's see what you're sending me. This is going to be a meme? Oh, I don't like sharing images on chapter discussions just because even if it's not from the recent chapter, it's just a dicey thing to do. So I don't like sharing it on chapter review streams, but like Zoro did say during the King fight, when King, I assume this is the King fight, when King launched his head at Zoro, Zoro says, "How can you block that? It's like a laser beam." I don't think it's exactly the same, but yeah, I mean, Sanji fans just soak it in. Soak it in. Rion Azar, thanks for the 10. Devon tapping Saturn confirms he'll die at Egghead for me. Yeah. And Devon will infiltrate Marie Joie disguises him, invest in Blackbeard stocks now, sell world government stocks ASAP. Again, just wait for next week's video. I will elaborate on all of these ideas. I don't have a ton to say on that just because I have a full video coming out next week that will elaborate heavily on that. So sorry I can't go in depth right here, but let's just say that we're on the same page. Spade, thanks for the 5. I like that Oda is giving some attention to Van Augur and treating him as one of the more serious Blackbeard pirates since he's a potential Usopp opponent. Yeah, I gotta say, I feel like the raid on Hachinosu. Justin Holland says, check my milestone chat in the beginning. What did I miss? Did I miss anything? Dude, was it a member comment? Because I think I might not be seeing that right now. Can you just repeat it? Don't super, but just repeat it. I'll try and catch it. Sorry, was it a member chat? I don't know if it was a member chat. Check my milestone chat in the beginning. Justin Holland, just type it now. I'll be looking as I read. What is that? Yeah, Van Augur treating him as one of the more serious members. Yeah, because one of the things is that, like, during the Hachinosu raid, I just don't think that, how do I say this? I don't think that the Blackbeard pirates look that good in the Hachinosu raid, because, yeah, they captured Garp, but ultimately Garp looks a lot cooler than the Blackbeard pirates there, right? Because Aokiji had to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And, you know, Avalo Pizarro gets sunned twice, and once was by Kobe. Like, Vasco shots just getting tossed around. San Juan Wolf getting tossed around. Shiryu, the first mate, only gets in one cheap shot before then getting, like, taken out for the moment at the very least. I don't know. I think that this was much needed. Like, a hype moment for the Blackbeard Pirates. This was really, really cool. Just them getting one over the Gorosei of all people, that was really cool. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. See, Justin Holland, did you say anything? I'm looking. I don't see anything from you, Justin Holland, right now. Yeah, don't see anything here right now. Yeah, Spade, thanks for the 5. I like that. No, we covered this. No, yeah, we covered this. Welton Hodecker, thanks for the 10. Sanji and Kizaru is the perfect fight. Sanji's driven by emotion, the power of love, and Kizaru suppresses his emotion to obey orders. That's a really, really good way to put it. Because, Kizaru is literally right now going against what his actual true personal feelings are, right? Whereas Sanji is giving into that 100%. I'm also kind of curious, how do people see this going? Do people think that... Let me do a poll real quick. Do people think that, is Luffy... Okay, how do the matchups go? Luffy versus Saturn, Luffy and Sanji versus Kizaru. Yeah, is it Luffy versus Saturn, Luffy and Sanji versus Kizaru? Some other mix and match option. I don't know. This is a weird poll because I really don't know what the options are, but it feels right now like Luffy is going to be, like Luffy's directing his anger towards Saturn. I don't really see Sanji versus Saturn. It just doesn't feel like that's something that's really set up. Kizaru versus Sanji feels right. If Zoro fans are lucky, and I still think, if I'm being honest, I still think there's a possibility. I could definitely see Zoro versus Lucci wrapping and Zoro coming back to help Sanji against Kizaru. Because ultimately, I don't think Sanji can solo Kizaru right now. I just don't think that's a thing. Sorry, Sanji fans, I don't think that's an absurd thing to say. But at the same time, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, at the same time, I think that Zoro and Sanji together could probably take Kizaru. And I feel like Luffy versus Saturn seems like what it's shaping up to be. Alright, I might have ended the poll too early, but I was just kind of quickly curious. Keenan, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 17 months, man. Morge, who will be the pirate with the eye patch? Have they already been introduced, or will it be a new character? I think the pirate with the eye patch, and I might have mentioned this before, I think it's very possible it will end up being Luffy by the end of the story. I think it'll either be Luffy or Blackbeard. I think it'll be a character that we already know, who goes through something and ends up with an eye patch. So I think it'll either be Luffy or Blackbeard. I could see Blackbeard losing an eye to Shanks or something like that. Blackbeard gives Shanks the scar. Shanks might be able to return one on the way out. But I could also see it being for Luffy if certain things happen. But actually, I think Luffy with an eye patch becomes less and less likely now that Gear 5th is a thing, because it's hard to imagine Gear 5th Luffy with an eye patch. It just is. You know, the Luffy with the Roger code and everything on and the straw hat, that Luffy with an eye patch I could see. but Luffy with Gear 5th, I don't know if that fits an eye patch too well. You know, we'll see. We'll see what design Oda wants to go with. Minhu Wong says, have you heard about Look Back getting an anime adaptation? I have not read that one. I've not read that one. It's the Fujimoto one-shot, right? I read the other one, and I thought the other one was phenomenal. So now I'm caught between, like, should I read Look Back? Or should I just wait for the anime adaptation of it? I don't know. Also, by the way, I finally caught up with the Chainsaw Man manga. Like, I really wasn't thinking that they were, like, it's been that good as of late. But then I caught up on the last, like, 5 chapters. Whew! Chainsaw Man is back for me. I think that the last 5 chapters were fucking phenomenal. Took me back to the highs of part 1 for sure. Last several chapters were just... It's so good. So good. I think I've just learned my lesson with Chainsaw Man. I need to let it build up. I can't be week to week. But, like, even the latest chapter was so fucking good for Chainsaw Man. Because when Fujimoto's doing stuff that only Fujimoto does, his writing style, his presentation style, his really, like, the way that he frames things, the way that he paces things, the way that he uses silence and minimalism, it stands, like, 50 feet apart from any of the other manga that I personally read. So when he's going off and, like, he lets off the character work that he's been kind of building up finally come to a head, and yeah, just, like, allow everything to have a payoff and construct certain scenes and certain sequences, there's nothing like Chainsaw Man. So, yeah, I'm back on the Chainsaw Man train. I just gotta let the chapters pile up. Sorry, still catching supers. Let me catch these members first. Sorry, guys. Anuj Agrawal, good to see you again, man. Young tier member for 17 months, always appreciated. Devon asking out loud what delicious power Saturn has after touching him. Can she emulate Devil Fruit abilities too? Battle with Strahd where she's changing Devil Fruits. If she can emulate Devil Fruits, I think that's just the strongest power, period, right? That's because we were all freaking out that Blackbeard can eat multiple fruits, period. If Katarina Devon can eat, like, he can eat 2, and that alone is broken. If Katarina Devon can eat, essentially use infinite Devil Fruit abilities, she's simply got the most powerful Devil Fruit ability there is. I don't think that's the case. I think she just, like, she can transform into people's forms, right? So if she can take Saturn's form, that in itself, like, the physical toughness, the size, the appendages, whatever you want to say, I think if she can copy that, then, you know, that's, like, copying the physical appearance, right? That seems very valuable to her. So I don't think necessarily that she's got his abilities. Like, I don't think she can do whatever he's doing with his eyes or necessarily his regeneration, but she could probably capture the appearance that he takes. It's also interesting because I've said before, we've gone back and forth on who Katarina Devon's going to fight. Is it going to be Nami? Is it going to be Robin? I advocated for Robin in the past. Then in a stream, you guys switched me over to Nami. But think about this. Robin, what's her biggest fight in the series before this, right? Black Maria, right? The form that Katarina Devon is going to be able to transform into with Saturn's Devil Fruit is going to be very Spider-esque, right? Saturn's form. So I just think, I don't know, that could be kind of interesting that Robin fought, like, this giant black spider once, and then in the final battle, she's again fighting this giant, like, against the Blackbeard Pirates, she's again fighting a giant black spider. I don't know, just maybe a little bit of a parallel or a throwback there. We know shit like that happens, like Zoro versus King. Like, a lot of Zoro's challenges in that fight were similar to Zoro versus Mr. One. Rayo Chiha, thanks for bringing Yonko tier member for 16 months. Hey Morge, I haven't been as active in a while, but we have a new supervisor who is cracking down on the use of phones. I'll be a VOD viewer for a while. Hey, I hope that I don't know if you're... Okay, I hope you enjoy the VODs. I hope you enjoy the VODs. I hope you're able to enjoy this as a VOD on the way to work or something like that. And, or no, don't be... Maybe just the audio. I don't know. Hey, but I'm sorry that you got a shitty new supervisor, though. Cracking down on the use of phones? What is this, high school? It's ridiculous. Ridiculous, if you ask me. Alright, let me catch supers now. Hold on. Where are we at? Did I cover this? No. We covered Behenord. Behenord asks, as of now, how strong do you think the Gorosei are? On one hand, Saturn made Luffy bleed with a regular attack. On the other hand, he kind of feels like a sandbag, but also he didn't use any named moves yet. Yeah, that's my feel. So I'm with you so far. Right now, Saturn does feel like a bit of a sandbag in the sense that he's been used in the last several chapters. So the flow of Saturn, right? Saturn revealed for the first time that the Gorosei have abilities. Very hype moment, right? We knew that back at the Reverie scene, but getting to see his actual form and just how powerful and menacing it is, that was huge. Everyone was going crazy over the Gorosei. Gorosei stocks were through the roof. I feel like it was one of the most powerful and memorable character ability reveals in One Piece history. The chapter that Saturn transformed into his demon form, right? Everyone remembers that. That was really cool. At that point in time, and especially because the framing was that Saturn now seems like the bigger threat than Kizaru. Also, even just the effect. Sorry, there's a truck going outside. Don't know if you guys can hear that. Even just the effect that we'd never had in One Piece before that people pointed out, which is that everyone across the island, Zoro, Lucci, Luffy, Kizaru, everyone's observation hockeys, like their spider senses are tingling and they're like, wait, fuck, what just happened? Who the fuck just arrived, right? The moment Saturn transformed. In that moment, it felt like the Gorosei Saturn was probably the bigger threat than Kizaru. As strong or stronger, right? That was kind of where, I'm not just making this up, we did polls at this point in time. I'm just recapping community opinion, right? We did polls. I polled everybody, but after that stream, opinion was Gorosei greater than Kizaru, right? Gorosei Saturn greater than Kizaru. He's the biggest threat. So that's where opinions were, right? Now, in the run of the last few chapters, what we had was basically a very sad backstory, where Saturn was framed as this really, really douchey dude who did a bunch of terrible things, and everyone hates Saturn. So now we get this run of chapters where Oda is kind of giving readers a sense of catharsis of getting to see Saturn get fucked up, right? I mean, we saw Bonnie get to stab Saturn. That was earlier. That was minor. But then Kuma shows up, and he gives Saturn one punch and sends Saturn flying across Egghead Island, bloodies him up really, really badly. And then Saturn gets back up, and now Luffy's giving him an ass-kicking too. And then on top of that, like, the Blackbeard Pirates they got the drop on him. So everything since Saturn's reveal, like, in his reveal moment, it was huge, because he, like, just his presence alone, he had Sanji, Frankie stunned, right? Just a wink could deal significant damage. Like, it did it to Luffy too, it's not just to Sanji. Yeah, in his initial reveal, it definitely felt like he's being portrayed way up here. Now, just because of the flow of the story, Oda has given us a set of chapters recently where Saturn is kind of like the pendulum swings back and he gets fucked up a bit, right? So now the question is that simply because Oda kind of needed to give readers a sense of catharsis for a little bit, and just we needed to get to see Saturn get fucked up for a little bit just for our own emotional state after seeing everything that happened in Kuma's backstory? Or is it more so that, yeah, Saturn's genuinely not quite as strong as we initially felt, right? The next couple chapters are going to tell us everything. If it segues into Luffy fighting Saturn, maybe Sanji holding off Kizaru or something like that, then yeah, Saturn is probably still going to be, the reality is he's probably going to be about as strong as we initially thought, which is above Kizaru, because Saturn would then be the final boss of the arc, right? If it's going to be something more like, I don't know, like Luffy's more focused on Kizaru and Saturn's just in the fight as well, then I think most people would swing back to saying, yeah, Saturn's probably not as strong as we initially thought. So it's something that remains to be seen. Basically, there's two ways to view the recent events for Saturn. Is that one, either like it's just story-wise, Oda needed to show Saturn getting fucked up for readers' own emotional sense of catharsis and just to feel good. And then Oda's way of writing that off is that, well, Saturn can just heal from everything and recover from everything, therefore it doesn't matter. Or Saturn's maybe not quite as good of a combatant, and he can get fucked up by a lot of things, and he's really reliant on the regeneration just to stay in the fight. I don't know. Or maybe like that, even that could be an exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying? Like, we need to find out in the next couple chapters kind of like what Oda's angle is with Saturn, and Saturn reflects the Gorosei strength in general quite a bit, I think, right here. So I hope that he doesn't disappoint, but at this point I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being weaker than Kizaru. Or sorry, yeah, surprised if he ends up being weaker than Kizaru. Ymil Diaz, oh wait, what did I miss? Yeah, Yamil Diaz, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for a month. I hope you're enjoying it so far. I hope you're enjoying the weekly podcasts. Probably not infinite, more like one for each tail. So Katarina Vaughn might get 9 powers. Even then, 9 powers is a crazy amount. Again, with Blackbeard, it's like just him getting 2 powers. Granted, they're 2 of the most powerful abilities in existence, but just the ability to, like, having any Devil Fruit ability is a threat. Getting 9 Devil Fruit abilities? I don't care who you are. Like, your hockey could be ass. Like, if you have 9 Devil Fruit abilities, like, you're a threat. Like, you're a serious fucking problem. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. 9 is a lot. Like just any individual Devil Fruit ability tends to have a lot of depth as to what it can do. So 9 would be crazy, I think. I still think she can only copy appearances, but, let's wait and see. Aether, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 11 months. Do you think Saturn's attack is Ryo? Sanji and Gear 5th Luffy have bled from it. Shit. That is a good question. Because Luffy, like, Sanji's one thing, right? Luffy should be made of rubber. So, no, but you know what? Rubber just means, like, blunt force type attacks don't work. I feel like whatever telekinesis type, I still feel like it's a product of Saturn's Devil Fruit ability. It just seems that way. I think we gotta wait and see, because again, he also has the ability to kind of freeze people in place. I feel like that's Devil Fruit ability stuff. I don't know. So Saturn being able to damage Luffy with telekinesis, I think still makes sense. It's hard to say. Nerve AMV Maker, thanks for the 10. When Zoro is fighting the Yonkos, Sanji was captured by fodder. When Sanji fights an admiral, Zoro is going high diff with fodder. Can Oda not write a moment where the crew is firing on all cylinders? I mean, he did, you're forgetting, I think, the moment where Zoro and Sanji both took the stage to fight King and Queen at the same time. That was the big moment that kicked off the final section of the Onigashima battle, where it's Zoro versus King, Sanji versus Queen, Law and Kid versus Big Mom, obviously, and Luffy versus Kaido was already going on. But that was pretty big. I think that so let me give my prediction right now, and you guys, let me give quick prediction right now. All right, and you guys let me know if you think this makes sense. Luffy fights. I think Luffy fights Saturn. Zoro finishes Lucci, and then Zoro and Sanji fight Kizaru. Yes? No. I think that makes sense to me, because I think it perfectly fits the idea of, like, the 2 wings of the Pirate King, etc., that everyone loves. I think that, Sanji's gotten his shine, right? Luffy versus Saturn it feels like Saturn's being still portrayed as the big boss of the arc, and just symbolically the one that Luffy needs to defeat more so than Kizaru, I think. If you don't have it that way, like, let's say you have Luffy fighting Kizaru, is Sanji fighting Saturn? I don't know about that. So I just feel like the way things are framed right now, Luffy versus Saturn makes sense to me. And then you're like, well, then does Sanji just fight Kizaru solo? I don't know if Sanji can fight Kizaru solo for that long. He can't beat him solo. I think even the most hardcore Sanji fan would acknowledge that Sanji can't beat Kizaru solo. So I feel like Zoro and Sanji versus Kizaru would feel very fitting right now. I don't know. So that's my little prediction. Luffy fights Saturn, Zoro and Sanji fight Kizaru. I'm just throwing that poll out there. Let's see what you guys think. Andrew Anami, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 17 months, man. It's always good to see you in streams, by the way. Really appreciate it. Monthly reminder to read Fire Punch. If you want possible insight to how Chainsaw Man might turn out, read Yogen no Nayuta one-shot if you haven't read. Wait, is it about Nayuta? That's interesting. Okay, I gotta read that. The latest chapter was very interesting with regards to that character. Also, Blackbeard mentioned taking over the world versus Ace. Yeah, I mean, there's a few Blackbeard quotes that we can go through in the series that I'm not going to delve into right now, but there is past precedence for the idea that Blackbeard wants to, like, take over the world, or at least, like, shape the world in a certain image. Oh, man. You guys don't understand, like, so with the new hairstyle that I've had lately, it's very hard to, the drying stage is very important. The drying stage is very important. Otherwise, it just does not look good at the end. think I've missed the window on the drying stage. Ah, shit. Nah, it is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. Nah. No. Fuck. Yeah, whatever. We'll live with it. K-Maya, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 6 months. I bet Oda has wanted to draw that double-page giant/Viking attack for years. It was glorious. Oda, as a famous Vicky the Viking fan, is very likely. I think you're on the nose with that. Yeah, Oda just likes Vikings. That's a big inspiration for One Piece. So, dude, the giant pirates coming back. It's the most random thing for this arc. I would not have predicted it for this arc whatsoever. I don't think anyone fucking predicted it for this arc. But, I don't know. It's sick that it's happening. Yeah. Let's get the Streetlegs up to 300 real quick. Kenny says, why doesn't Zoro kill Lucci? I mean, I think he would if it was easy. I imagine, I like to believe that Zoro will try hard. I'm not saying that Zoro's not trying, but I like to believe that he will end the fight on his own terms soon enough. He just has to put out more exertion than he's been doing. Maybe it takes Ashura or something at the end of the day. I hope it doesn't fucking take Ashura, but at the very least, like, some higher level advanced Conqueror's Haki attack, probably. K Maya, thanks for being... No, we covered this. We just covered this. Sorry, autopilot right there. John678, welcome to Pirate King tier. You now have access to the Pirate King podcasts that have come out lately, and one came out just a week and a half, like a weekish ago, a little bit over a week ago. Check that out. Obviously, several other Pirate King podcasts that you can check out as well, and look out for this month's Pirate King podcast at the end of the month. Flame, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 16 months. Flame can tell you all about it. Speaking of Sanji, the last OP episode made me think Katakuri might join Cross Guild and be Sanji's opponent for the arc due to their connections to Pudding. Pure speculation, but a fun speculation. Yeah, I don't know if because Katakuri could fit Cross Guild. The tricky thing is that Katakuri would never leave the Big Mom Pirates, because, I mean, I don't even know if they're called the Big Mom Pirates anymore, but Katakuri would never leave his family. That's his whole thing. So he wouldn't just leave to join Cross Guild, so it would be like Cross Guild has to take in all of the former Big Mom Pirates, which I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but, you know, anything's possible. So many things have moved, so many pieces have moved around that, you know, most of us wouldn't have expected before, that anything's possible at this point. All right, I'm catching up on supers. Give me a sec. I'm catching up on supers. Did Justin Holland ever come in? If anyone sees Justin Holland's comment, just let me know if Justin Holland comes in and makes a comment. Mara, thanks for the 2. Hi, just wanted you to know you make my commute easier. Hey, that's good to know. I feel bad for people that have, like, really, really rough commutes. I'm lucky, blessed, etc. that I get to work from home pretty much entirely. Yeah, but I remember I used to have to do commutes, and, like, it was the amount that it mentally drains you doing 40 minutes one way and then sometimes longer back after a long day of work. It just drains you so bad, and you don't want to do anything afterwards. So glad to make your commute a little bit easier. Billy Bitchcakes, thanks for the 2. Morge. What will Caribou joining Blackbeard lead to? Caribou, the main thing is that he knows about the ancient weapons. He knows about Pluton. He knows about Poseidon. I have a big theory as to what it leads to regarding Pluton that I'm not going to share right here, unfortunately. But, yeah, I think Blackbeard definitely, it's super important that he learns about the ancient weapons. Samuel Hart, do you think Strahd will go to Hachinosu? If so, when? I never thought the Strahd would go to Hachinosu. That is an interesting little idea. The Straw Hats at Hachinosu... I don't think the Straw Hats go to Hachinosu, just because that's like... It's just the... I can't imagine the story ever taking them there, because it wouldn't be for an adventure. It wouldn't be to save Garp. It wouldn't be... like, to fight the Blackbeard Pirates. If they go to if they fight the Blackbeard Pirates, I feel like somewhere more symbolic, like Laugh-Tale itself, or even Marijoa would make more sense, right? So, I feel like if they ever went to Hachinosu, it would be to lose, or something like that. But I can't imagine their final battle being at Hachinosu, just symbolically. Straw Choco, thanks for the 5. Do you think Blackbeard knows about Imu? Will Blackbeard use Gura to free Pluton? Oh, fuck. that is actually like I said before this, like like a couple comments ago that I don't want to share what my theory is, but I do think that Blackbeard does ultimately free Pluton using the Gurugor no Mi for certain reasons that I won't get into the reasons here. Do I think there's anything special about Lafitte? He's very mysterious. So let's start with Blackbeard knowing about Emu. I do think that I think there's a very good shot that Blackbeard knows about Emu. I think there's a very good shot. I wouldn't know how he would know about Emu unless it's something that unless it's something that Rox discovered and Rox was able to pass down. Because even the Revolutionary Army doesn't know about Emu, right? The Revolutionary Army doesn't know about Emu, and they've been fucking studying the world government for decades. So I think it's possible Blackbeard might know about Emu. That's possible. Do I think there's anything special about Lafitte? So people have gone back and forth on who Sanji's opponent would be in the Blackbeard Pirates. I don't know if there's anything necessarily special about Lafitte, but he could be the third strongest member of the Blackbeard Pirates after Shiryu, right? Blackbeard, Shiryu, then Lafitte. He's very fast, we know. He's very stealthy. I think he could fit as an opponent for Sanji. Not a Pro 64, thanks for the 5. Jinbei takes Zoro's spot and fights Lucci. Zoro plus Sanji versus Kizaru. Luffy versus Saturn. Jinbei versus Lucci. Once we get to Jinbei versus Lucci, it feels weird because it's like I don't think that Jinbei can handle an opponent that has lasted this long against Zoro. That's lasted this long against Zoro and has clearly pushed Zoro to exert himself to this degree. You know? Like Zoro's like there's like let me look at the chapter again. Zoro's bleeding and stuff, right? There's blood. He's sweating. He's panting. Like I don't think. Maybe I don't know. I also think it would feel really weird if Zoro literally has to hand. Like Zoro, the first mate, has to actually like hand the opponent off to Jinbei rather than finishing Lucci himself. I don't know. I think that would like call me too much of like maybe I'm fanboying Zoro too much here, but I feel like that would just look really fucking bad. Like yeah, like Zoro's like he's struggling. He's taking a while. It's embarrassing, right? It's embarrassing. It's fun. Let's get the jokes out. But if it's to the point that he literally can't actually just efficiently finish off Lucci and Jinbei has to come in and just take care of the fight for him, that's a different like I think at that point it's just kind of it's just like it's basically if that's happening then it's like how's this dude ever gonna fucking beat Mihawk? It's not fucking happening, right? Like just throw away the world's strongest swordsman dream. It's a joke. You know, if it's literally like you can't like if he legitimately needs Jinbei to swap in for him because Zoro legitimately can't just turn on the jets and actually finish Lucci off, the dream's over. No one's gonna believe this guy beating Mihawk within the next couple arcs. Like that's just fucking not happening, right? Like it's not even like at that point it's not even being like a Zoro fanboy. It's just like, dude, like hang it up. Like you're not beating Mihawk. It's over. It would be nonsensical for him to defeat Mihawk in the next few arcs if he needs to hand this fight off to Jinbei, you know? It's just nonsensical. It's just against basically the entire story. It's like, what the fuck was all that training for in, like, what the fuck was mastering Enma and, like, cutting Kaido and, like, defeating King and all of that about, huh? If you need Jinbei to basically take your fights for you. I don't know. It would also essentially prove what Lucci is telling Zoro, which is, like, you're holding the crew back and being dead weight if you can't get past me. Like, it actually is a throwback. So this is actually very in character for Lucci, which I like, which is that Lucci used to say the same shit to Luffy during Luffy's fight in Enies Lobby, if I recall correctly. I might be misremembering. Maybe it's even anime-only dialogue. I don't remember exactly. But I remember it was something along the lines of, like, you need to be able to beat me to protect your crew and stuff like that. Or, like, your crew's lives are hanging in balance because of you. Like, Lucci likes to do that type of taunting. I'm fairly certain that there was dialogue like that in the manga as well. He just likes to get into that type of thing, right? So what Luffy obviously did was prove Lucci wrong and defeat him. It would be really fucking bad if, like, Lucci actually is taunting Zoro about being dead weight and not being able to accomplish what he needs to accomplish, and it's holding back the crew. And then Zoro actually doesn't succeed in taking care of Lucci, and it's like, all right, I can't do it. Jinbei take over. I think it would just... it would be very bad for the character, I think. Um, I don't know. Also, I think Blackbeard parts took the Seraphim is why they need a Gorosei. Ooh, that could be juicy. The Blackbeard parts taking the Seraphim, that could be amazing. I love that. I really, really like that. The Blackbeard parts taking the Seraphim, conveniently bubble gunned up and everything for them. Because I figured that the Seraphim, the world government would get their hands on the Seraphim in this arc. But if the Blackbeard parts got the Seraphim, holy shit, that could be good. I love that idea. Okay, here's the thing. If the Blackbeard pirates got their hands on the Seraphim, I now believe in the possibility that stronger than ever. Here's the thing. If the Blackbeard pirates got the Seraphim, I believe stronger than ever that Blackbeard could be the final villain over Emu. Not stronger than, because I used to believe 100% Blackbeard. I guess if right now I'm at like 30 to 40% chance that Blackbeard could be the final villain, went up from 10% like I thought like a year ago. If I'm now at 30 to 40%, if they have the Seraphim, I'm up to like 50 to 60%. Reason being, one of my biggest holdups to the idea of Blackbeard potentially being the final villain, especially in recent times, is that the world government has been being built up more and more and more with more and more threats, right? Emu, Gorosei, Holy Knights, and even the Seraphim were a part of that that whole picture, right? It just seems like they're getting more and more stacked. And I felt like the Blackbeard parts were too weak. I felt like the Hachinosu raid, like, they just don't seem like final villain material. Even if they manage to get stronger, it just doesn't seem like they're going to be close to what the world government's going to have at the end of the day. If they get the Seraphim, that's very, very different. Because the Seraphim have unlimited potential in terms of how strong Oda wants to make them. Oda can write the Seraphim to be whatever at this point. Because they're pitched by Vegapunk. Like, Vegapunk explains that I created them to be the ultimate beings, like the strongest form of humanity. Everything we've seen of the Seraphim so far, and by the way, no one has been able to beat a Seraphim. Obviously, we can assume that they can be beaten, right? Like, I believe that Luffy, Zoro, Blackbeard, Lucci, if they went all out, they could probably beat those Seraphim. But Oda very carefully said, like, yeah, no one's easily beating these guys. They have to be bubble gunned away. These are the Seraphim in child form, right? These are the baby fucking versions of the Seraphim. They're nowhere close to what they could be. Oda could say that the adult forms are, like, literally the strongest characters or something like that, right? Maybe not literally stronger than fucking Roger or whatever, but I'm saying, like, he has the freedom, the leeway to make the Seraphim in the future however the fuck strong he wants. So it could easily be a thing where the Seraphim, if Oda ultimately, if he makes Blackbeard get the Seraphim, and it's like mission accomplished, right? And I'm sorry I'm going off on this tangent, but it's just an interesting tangent to throw around. If Blackbeard gets the Seraphim, because it's like mission accomplished is what they said. Was their plan to get the Gorosei's ability? I don't know about that. Maybe their plan was to get the Seraphim, because Blackbeard saw the Seraphim in Amazon Lily and realized that that's what Vegapunk had been working on, right? So if they get the Seraphim, and they're able to, like, the Seraphim mature or whatever by the time of the final war, again, if they're on Blackbeard's side, Blackbeard can literally write the Seraphim to be however strong, like, Oda can literally write the Seraphim to be however strong he wants. He could say that Blackbeard now has the strongest subordinates, stronger than the Gorosei, stronger than admirals, or something like that. Because, again, the Seraphim, like, that might be highballing the Seraphim. I'm just saying that Oda has the leniency, the leeway to write them. Like, he can say whatever about the Seraphim, the adult version of the Seraphim, because they were technically designed to be the most powerful beings, right? So the possibility is there. Like, he has the door open to make them, to scale them however he likes, which is a very, very dangerous thing if you're considering how strong he could make Blackbeard, Blackbeard's forces. Anyway, let's move it along. Did I miss any member chats in that point? Mr. MMF2, thanks for being a Yonko to your member for 16 months, man. Hey, Morchussi, don't know how I feel about that name. Great chapter. I love how Van Augur is the only serious Blackbeard part member. Also, predictions on Lafitte's location. Blackbeard is... So, the fact that we don't know Lafitte's location could mean that Lafitte is off stealing the fucking Seraphim. It's entirely fucking possible. The only serious Blackbeard pirate member... I don't get how this works timing-wise, because at the same time as this was going on, like at the same time as we saw the Blackbeard Pirates ship approaching Egghead Island, weren't we also shown that Van Augur is with Blackbeard at the island with Law? So I guess that was taking place in a different time frame. I'm not sure. And yeah, Van Augur, I think, infused a heavy dose of hype for the Blackbeard Pirates, because again, the Hachinosu raid didn't make them look that hot. I think Van Augur really, really, like, just it feels so much foreboding. Like, the potential and, as the kids say, the aura around the Blackbeard Pirates shot up, I don't know, 50% with Van Augur's line right there. Line of the chapter for sure. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 300. Justin Holland says what? What's Justin Holland saying? He says, hey. Justin's saying, hey. Justin heated right now. What's Justin saying? Justin's saying, hey. I see you, man. What are you saying? What do you say? You gotta say the line. I just see you saying, hey. Alright. Adam CR says, Gear 5th get new form like Gear 4th. Serious mode, new design. No, I don't think it needs a new form. I think that it just depends on how Oda writes it in the future. Like, I like the idea that Gear 5th is the final form that Luffy needs. It's Luffy's most true to himself form, I suppose. It just is him at his freest, right? Power of imagination, endless possibilities. I love the idea of it. I would not like it if we need another transformation to just go back to serious mode Luffy. Can't it just be worked into whatever we already have? I don't know. The Outback Pandas says, Morge, I missed Akasha Super. It said Blackbeard is not a Buccaneer. Saturn knows about his lineage and yet called him the last surviving Buccaneer in chapter 1095. I'm sorry, Akash Panda. It's possible I haven't gotten to you yet. I don't know if I missed... I'm still just catching up. But maybe I already missed you. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, shoot. That is very, very possible then. That is very, very possible. Shit. Yeah, I forgot. Unless Saturn is misspeaking, but no, he wouldn't be misspeaking. You're right. So Blackbeard's not a Buccaneer then. So Blackbeard's not a Buccaneer. So then what does he mean by that? That's interesting. I don't know what to say about that. That's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. So, shit. Okay. What's Justin say? I don't see the... Justin, you gotta post it one more time. I promise I'll catch it this time. I just see you saying, hey. Okay. Where we at? Past this. Okay, Behenort says, this chapter also made me think that Bonnie doing a Gear 5th, also joining, is more likely. I need 2 Nikas side by side in the final war, please, Oda. I don't know if Bonnie's going to be side by side fighting with Luffy in the final war like that. Let's get the stream likes to 300, by the way. But I do think that, like, okay, let's do this poll real quick. Yeah, he's talking about lineage, not race. Yeah, I figured that might be a translation thing, but if we're getting into, like, he can't, like... Blackbeard can't be a Buccaneer, right? So maybe he means the lineage being, like, maybe descendant of rocks or something like that? Okay. Yeah, Blackbeard being, like H-Man is saying, Shanks probably told the Gorsei about, Blackbeard being Zebek's son. Justin Holland saying, thanks, Panda. What's the actual line? Wait, what? The Outback Panda. Oh, he caught the line from Justin. Justin says, Zoro... Okay, Justin Holland says, Zoro and Sanji showing why they're Pirate King Luffy's wings. Cleaning up foes not worth his time. Luffy and Saturn matchup, good start. P.S. Luffy mentoring Bonnie and the Giants. Mentoring Bonnie and the Giants. I don't know if he's mentoring the Giants, but definitely mentoring Bonnie, right? I think Luffy and Sanji... Yeah, Zoro and Sanji showing why they're... Yeah, this is a unique case. You know why this is really unique? It's just... I think this is the first time I can recall in the series where... Zoro is handling the clearly weaker opponent while Sanji's handling the clearly stronger opponent. The last time I could think of this happening was Arlong Park, where you could make the argument that Kurubi is stronger than Hachi because Kurubi, if you go back and read Arlong Park, Kurubi is framed as the vice captain more than Hachi, like Arlong's right-hand man. Kurubi also turned out to have a higher bounty. But Zoro was highly injured that arc, right? He was highly, highly injured that arc. I also don't know if I would say Kurubi was stronger than Hachi. It's like splitting hairs when you're getting to East Blue level characters, but you could make the argument, right? And also Kurubi was defeated after Hachi. Zoro had his fight first, although Usopp fought last, so I guess that's not necessarily indicative of anything. But that's the only time you could make the case that Sanji gets a stronger opponent for the arc than Zoro. This is the first time, like we've seen many, many times before, that Zoro will handle one guy while Sanji handles the other guy. This is the first time that Sanji's being given the big gun, right? Like Sanji's handling the big dog and Zoro's handling the little cat. I don't know if that's going to be a permanent situation. I do personally think that just the way that Oda tends to write things, I think it's more likely that Zoro... I doubt that Zoro will look bad for that much longer. I could easily imagine Zoro jumping in and being a part of the Kizaru fight soon enough. But just the fact alone that Sanji is getting this by himself while Zoro's still handling Lucci, that's huge. That is very, very rare. Has not happened in One Piece. It was long overdue for Sanji. Yeah, let me ask this. Do you think Bonnie joins? Yes, no. Where are we at in this opinion at this point? How are we feeling on this? Okay, yeah, I don't know if, yeah, like, I did the poll banner. Let's see what people say. Kelvin, thanks for the 5. Out of all these war arcs, which one do you prefer? Oh, this is a spicy one. Fourth Great Ninja War Arc, Thousand Year Blood War Arc, or Wano? It depends, like, okay, so Thousand Year Blood War, the jury's out. Because once upon a time, I would have just said that's, like, so bad, it's just not even worth a conversation. Like, it's a joke of an arc, originally, in the manga. It is, basically, it's all of Bleach's worst writing quality. Like, literally, it's an arc. It's not fair to compare it to the other two, because it is very literally an arc that the author himself said he did not get time to properly complete. Not because he was, like, canceled or anything like that, like the rumors were once upon a time, but I think it was, like, health or burnout reasons or something like that. Like, very literally, it was rushed beyond imagination. Okay, so Thousand Year Blood War, it doesn't even fall into the same scope as the other two. The other two are just, like, big, ambitious arcs that had, in my opinion, a lot of flaws. Thousand Year Blood War is just, like, a story that never even got to be properly told. However, it's being redone in the anime, and I fucking love watching Thousand Year Blood War arc in the anime. However, a lot of that is just because the animation production is so good, and it's just so artistically and stylistically done. It is, like, genuinely, it is beautiful and surreal watching some scenes from Thousand Year Blood War. Like, watch the latest episode, the Bankai that was revealed in the latest episode. It is fucking awesome. I cannot praise that enough. So, it's hard to say. Like, if you're comparing manga-wise, it's not even in the same category. So, until it's done, I'm not going to talk about it, because we don't know how he improves the story as Thousand Year Blood War arc goes on, because Kubo is getting to rewrite it, essentially, with the anime team. So we'll set that aside, because it's just too bad initially to be debated. Between Fourth Great Ninja War and Wano, I don't know, I'm just not that big of, like, a Naruto fan. So, like, I'm gonna prefer Wano because I'm a One Piece fan. So even if I don't like it by the standards of One Piece arcs, if I take, like, a One Piece, like, a big, ambitious One Piece war arc that I didn't enjoy versus, like, a big, ambitious Naruto war arc that I didn't enjoy, I just have so little personal... It's not even critiquing the two arcs. It's just my personal attachment to Naruto is so much less than One Piece that, like, I just tend to care less about a lot of what happened in the Fourth Great Ninja War. That's not critiquing the arc even. It's just... I like One Piece better. That's literally all it is. So, the good moments in Wano that I enjoy, like some of the fights, like Gear 5th, some of the lore stuff, that just means more to me than anything that's happening in the Fourth Great Ninja War. So, yeah, I'd say Wano, Fourth Great Ninja War, Thousand Year Blood War. That's my original ranking. Maybe that changes as Thousand Year Blood War is rewritten in the anime. Sabian Rob, thanks for the 5. What happens to Caribou here? Do you think he tells the Blackbeard pirates the Straw Hats are heading to Elbaf? What happens to Caribou here? Do I think he tells the Blackbeard pirates the Straw Hats are heading to Elbaf? I don't know if that would even... Yeah, maybe he does. Because people have talked about, like, that turning into a big-ass Davy, like, multi-Yonko Davy backfight or something. I think that could be really, really cool. It's also one small thing to note, which is that like if you want to draw parallels, the original Little Garden arc, it featured like two groups, Dory and Broggy, like two parties, Dory and Broggy, who were trying to have an honorable battle that was being sabotaged by a third party that was mischievous and conniving, which was Mr. 3. I wonder if we get something like the Straw Hats and the Red-Haired Pirates trying to have like an honorable, maybe Davy Backfight or something, and the Blackbeard Pirates are there, kind of throwing a wrench in the works with like some sort of scheme. I don't know. That's an interesting possibility. I think more importantly, Caribou will definitely tell Blackbeard about the ancient weapons. Okay, so Bonnie joining the crew. It seems about 50-50. Yeah, I could go either way on it right now. I do think it's more likely she joins than not, but, it's entirely possible either way. Matchy, thanks for the 5. How do you feel about Blackbeard being a set of triplets? It would explain his design inconsistencies in the manga and how he seemingly doesn't sleep. I don't think the design inconsistencies are anything to think about. I think Oda just likes to fuck around with designs, and it's just unrealistic ways that characters change over time. It's just part of the One Piece world and style. Seemingly doesn't sleep. I think that fits more, as well as potentially why he's able to eat multiple fruits, potentially up to 3 fruits. It was noted that Blackbeard has 2 sisters, which could be significant in that regard. Dick so small I piss on my balls. Thanks for the 5. No way Lafitte isn't Brook's opponent when they're both stealthy, skinny, cane-wielding, black and white themed hypnotists. So I did for a long time think that Lafitte versus Brook was like guaranteed. It just seemed perfect. Matchup wise, it did just seem perfect matchup wise, but over time I've kind of been like, Lafitte feels almost too important to be fought by Brook, so I don't know if that'll be the case. But like there's 2 ways Lafitte can go, which is either he really is just like a stealthy, sneaky guy, not great of a combatant, in which case, yeah, I could see him fighting Brook. Or it's like, yeah, Lafitte is being hyped up and given so much mystery and aura around him because he's meant to fight someone like Sanji or someone significant. JP, thanks for the 5. I like how some of Jinbei's best feats is pushing around Big Mom when Oda needed to move/stall her for plot. Yeah, Jinbei got some good feats against Big Mom, both in Whole Cake Island, although granted she was like very shriveled up and skinny right then, and flipping her, not suplexing her, but flipping her in Wano towards the beginning. Yeah, Jinbei's always had like good, like low-key pretty good feats against like strong characters. It's just that, you know, when you're in Wano and the fight that you're getting is who's who, it feels like I never got the sense in Wano that Oda's trying to build up Jinbei to be Zoro or Sanji's equivalent, you know? Although Jinbei obviously handled Who's Who very, very easily, right? So I could have seen Jinbei ending up being matched up against Jack, for example, but that ended up being in Arashi's match, so, you know. Grizzly Adams, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 6 months. Morge, perhaps if Luffy fights Akainu, his negative emotions will make him unable to use Gear 5th. But in order to defeat Akainu, he has to work through Ace's death and bring a smile to his own face. There we go. That's some interesting writing. I like that. I like those ideas. That's a great idea. How do people feel about that? I like that sort of idea. If it's something like if it can bring out some character writing for Luffy, that'd be great, because that's what I've always wanted for Gear 5th. Like, rather than just wake up with a big old smile on his face and he's just happy and that's just the way he is. Because, like, even looking at the transition from Gear 4th, like Luffy versus Kaido in chapter 1042 to Luffy waking up with Gear 5th in 1044, Luffy's really serious in 1042. It's actually the only time in the Kaido fight that he suddenly becomes really, really serious and really angry. Then he wakes up really happy, and I'm just like, the writing, I would have loved some sort of character writing to get him from here to here rather than I just wake up totally different. I don't know. So I would love to see that for the Akainu fight. That's a brilliant idea. Japanese Jim, thanks for the 5. What are the chances that by the end of the series the Straws have a stop to train, either training arc or a mini time skip? I would not like that, just because I feel like we're past that point. I personally feel like we're at the point where every power up that the Straw Hats could feasibly get that the Straw Hats would need from now to the end of the story is something that could organically be worked into the battles that they get, right? Because they've got a litany of significant fights left, right? So many chances to get stronger. That's how it used to be pre-time skip, right? Like you get stronger through the fights. I mean, it still is post-time skip. Obviously, we saw that over Wano. We've seen that for Luffy, many an arc post-time skip. But that's really what I'm hoping is the trend from here on. Because to me, the purpose of the time skip, right? The purpose of the time skip for me was basically like the Straw Hats from start of the story to the time skip, all of pre-time skip. Their method of getting stronger was primarily through the fights, right? They experience hardships, they overcome them. Over the process, they get stronger. They keep doing that, they keep doing that, they keep doing that. Then the idea is that they hit a wall. They hit a wall where it's even a line in Marineford. It's like willpower alone isn't enough. Like you need to get stronger. They hit a wall where basically it's just like, okay, from here to like the next big challenges they need to overcome, the gap is just too big for them to throw themselves into the next fight, like New World level fights, and just hope that they get stronger over the course of those fights. They need to get time to get their base, like to get their training, like to get their level back up, right? So that was the time skip. They get their base floor, like they get their base back up to a level where they can now feasibly go back to their old adventuring, just take each challenge as it comes sort of ways, and have the foundation necessary. Like once like Zoro, Sanji, and Luffy have learned Haki, right? You've now got the foundation that you should be able to take on challenges over and over, and through Haki blooms, etc., be able to keep building yourself up, right? That's the idea. And that's what we see in Whole Cake Island. That's what we see in Wano. I believe that that's a trend that could definitely continue from here on. And I would prefer it that way personally. Not a Pro 64, thanks for the 5. The utility of the warp fruit, he said he still has to master it, is building Van Augur up as the sugar or Perona of Blackbeard Pirates for Usopp. You're saying that like he's the only one that's going to be able to take Van Augur down? Yeah, I could definitely see that. I definitely think that Usopp, like sniping will be the only way to hit Van Augur at a certain point, because he's going to be too, like, if you're able to warp everywhere, you're not, like, characters that are physical melee based are not actually going to be able to hit him. It would require someone like Usopp who's able to actually hit Van Augur, right? To be able to, like, from a distance. And that's the only way you're going to be able to defeat an opponent like that. And I think that could be why Usopp could be a really good matchup against Van Augur, especially if Usopp's able to tap into Future Sight. Because something like Future Sight plus really good long distance moves, that would be the perfect counter to Van Augur. Obi-Wan Kenobi, thanks for the 2. Could Caribou steal the ancient robot for Teach? I don't know if Caribou can, like, fit a robot that size into him, if that's what you're implying. I don't know if that works. Rock Nation Brunch, thanks for the 5. Maybe, fuck, I forgot that we still need the ancient robot worked into the story of this arc. There's still so much to go, man. Also, let's get the streamlights up to 400 real quick. The Outback Pandas is saying I missed a super. By the way, the Outback Pandas, thank you so much for catching these. Gihan's super. I don't really get upset at Luffy laughing because I know the fruit is influencing him. It kind of reminds me of the people in Abisu Town. The difference is that the people in Abisu Town weren't actually, like, they were legitimately sad and, like crying internally while they're laughing. Whereas, like, Luffy legitimately seems to be in a good mood here. Like, if you see the panel, like, after, like, Luffy's doing the relaxing pose, like, he's relaxing on his back, floating in the air, like, genuinely laugh. Like, I don't get the sense that he's, like crying, like he would be crying tears or something. Like, it seems as though it actually puts him. So the difference is that the smile fruit didn't influence their actual emotions. It influenced the expressions that they could put out, right? With Gear 5th, it's more like from everything Luffy said so far, I'm having fun, I'm feeling good, this is fun, right? It influences how he actually feels in the moment, which is very different from the smile fruits in Abisu Town. With those, it's like they could still feel, like they were feeling lots of pain, sorrow, etc., but the only thing they were allowed to express is laughter and smiles. With Luffy, it's like, it's changed how he's feeling. Like, you can go back to Gear 5th's debut, you can go back to all of the lines that he says when he expresses his emotional state in Gear 5th. It's always like, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling so light, I'm having so much fun. It's legitimately Luffy's mood is influenced by that, which is very different. It is true that the fruit is influencing him, but not in the way that the smile fruits in Abisu Town did. Um, what is this? Okay. Rock Nation Brunch says, no, we covered this. No, Rock Nation Brunch, we didn't cover this. Thanks for the 5. Maybe Blackbeard's father's Rocks, but he adopts his mother's name like Marshall, like Ace adopted Portgas. That's interesting. Like, for Blackbeard, he might only have done that for, if he did that, that would just have been for survival, because Ace didn't, like, Ace rejected what Roger was, whereas Blackbeard seems to embrace what Rocks was. So Blackbeard might have just, like, not taken Rocks' name just to survive, whereas for Ace, it was like, he hated Roger's name, so he didn't keep it. Broly Power Maximum, thanks for the 2. Caribou's info buff for Blackbeard, annoyed with Straw Hats. Dude, yeah, like the that is so it's one thing like we talked about before, they're sharing poneglyph information with their rivals, right? Or people rejected that happened last stream. I forget, but like the Straw Hats are, very helpful to their opponents in many ways, right? But this is like another level where it's just like you're letting Caribou go free. Here's the thing. I don't think the Straw Hats knew that Caribou... Correct me if I'm wrong. People correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think the Straw Hats knew that Caribou heard the Poseidon conversation or the Pluton conversation. I don't think the Straw Hats knew about that. Can somebody correct me if I'm wrong? But I think that is a big deal. Because I don't know if they would have been as cavalier with letting Caribou go if they knew that he knew ancient weapon information. Then again, the Straw Hats are kind of like oblivious to the significance of a lot of that. No, but I think characters like Robin and Frankie would have cut in. Because like their whole lives were dictated by like the importance of ancient weapons like Pluton, right? And Frankie burning Pluton and understanding the significance of that, I think that's very, very important, right? So I think it would be very, very, yeah, it would just be a little too ridiculous if they're just like, okay, this character that knows how to unearth one of these ancient weapons is just walking around who's clearly a bad guy. Can anyone connect me? I don't think they know about that. Yeah, so I don't think it's bad. Like, I think them letting Caribou go is fine because they didn't know that he knows what he knows. If they let him go with him just knowing what Pluton is, etc., it kind of where Pluton is, I think it kind of shits all over the writing of Enies Lobby because it was really, really beaten into like just the weight and gravity and responsibility of that sort of knowledge, you know? Yeah. Okay. So I think that's fine. I don't think the Straw Hats fucked up there. They were just their usual selves. You can be annoyed with them. I understand that too, but it's like they didn't know. It's one of those things where it's like being so like you can think about it like this, right? Think about it like this, I'd say. Yes, being and this is not for One Piece, right? This is just generally for life. Being too kind or too good of a person, right? It can come back to bite you in many ways, right? The Straw Hats let Caribou go. That is going to come back to bite them, right? They could have kept him in prison in Wano. They could have killed him, right? He's tried to kill them. But they're kind, good people. They let him go, and that is going to come back to bite them in some way. But at the same time, by living life with that mentality of being a kind, good-hearted person, think about all the other times that the Straw Hats have had that paid back to them in some way, in a good way, right? Like, I would say them being kind, good-hearted people has paid dividends for them throughout the series, and with most people they meet and most interactions that they have, like 95% of the time, you know? So ultimately, it can feel like them just being good people almost to a fault can lead them into trouble and make them make mistakes and be too trusting or, you know, lead to certain consequences. But then at the same time, think about all the times of the story where they didn't do something bad or they did let someone go, etc. Like, you can view the Lucci situation in the same way. Like, they let Lucci go and now it's a problem, right? But it's just like, you just got to look at the big picture. How many times have they done things that are too good, too kind, etc., and it's actually been for the best, or it's been something that karmically pays off for them down the road, right? So you take that, like, that's just the trouble of being a good-natured person. You get the good, but you also get the bad once in a while as well. But that doesn't mean that you should just be just switch over to being really cold-hearted and calculated the entire time, because you got to think about all the other times that it pays, you know, it comes back around to you, you know. So I think that's important to think about. Bonnie versus Caribou later. Nika versus Blackbeard Worshipper. Bonnie. Oh, that's a fun little idea. This is not a pro. That's from not a Pro 64. Yeah, I saw a lot of people also drawing parallels between Carabo and Bartolomeo, but I think Bonnie versus Carabo, like Bonnie's a bit more meaningful as a Nika versus Blackbeard worshiper. But Carabo really is the Blackbeard version of Bartolomeo. I wonder if we get to see Bartolomeo versus Carabo. That would be cool. That'd be funny. Patty G, thanks for the 10. Where the fuck has Lafitte been at? So somebody suggested earlier that like the Seraphim could be being captured right now. They're all fucking conveniently bubblegunned up for the taking. Yeah, Lafitte might be there, or he might be stealing some other technology, or he might be trying to fucking steal York. When did we last see York? Did we see York this chapter? Can anyone tell me? Or he might be trying to steal Mother Flame. I don't know. Also, why does it even matter if Devon can copy Saturn? Surely the genius scientist didn't just make the Seraphim command chip face/voice recognition. I feel like it is, because like the Pacifista seems to be like that. Like they just recognize Bonnie as their master because she looks like Bonnie and sounds like Bonnie. You know. The reason that I think it matters that Devon can copy Saturn, again, wait for next Tuesday's video. Yeah, JP says them being kind probably motivates Dorian Broggy just as much as the Sun God stuff. I mean, just all of the friends and connections the Strahts have made over the course of the story. Just being good people and generally good people in One Piece, that'll pay off more often than not. That's the idea. And sometimes it fucks you over, but in the long run, the idea is that it's the right thing to do. Excellent point, Midgical. You can come up with a million examples, but like just right off the bat, Midgical Merwee says, "Imagine if they killed the two whale hunters on Reverse Island." You know, Nami betrays Luffy in her first encounter with him and pretty much sentences him to death to be killed off by Buggy. You know, but Luffy was never gonna kill Nami or anything like that over that, and look at how that's paid off down the line. They could have just killed Vivi the first time they met her because she tried to kill them in the first place, you know? They could have killed Vivi. Vivi was gonna kill them. Vivi and all the bounty hunters at Whiskey Peak, they were gonna kill them basically, or at least turn them into the Marines, and then be executed or something. But yeah, everything pays off in theory. Angel Reeves, thanks again for the 10. Luffy, Zoro helping Luffy again, the pirate world's best in Wano. Against the pirate world's best. Okay, Zoro helping Luffy. Words. Zoro helping Luffy against the pirate world's best in Wano, that's an island about Edo swordsmen. Sanji helping Luffy against the world government's best as a cyborg in a future island. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, like, you're 100% right on that. I think maybe we should have all secretly known that Sanji is going to be important in Egghead Island because it's an arc about science and Sanji's a cyborg. Still hoping that we get some good Frankie moments in this as well. We've already arguably gotten some. The thing is, I still just don't... Am I crazy? Am I the only one? I still just don't subconsciously associate Sanji with science. At least not intuitively. I know he is when I think about it, but I've just spent the entire... like 90% of the story that's been running for decades that I've been following for 20 years of my life. For the vast majority of it, Sanji had nothing to fucking do with science. There was no correlation, nothing even related. He was, this romantic cook guy, you know? Food, associated with food, cooking, women, not like stealth, espionage. Being a fucking cyborg and the warrior of science is brand fucking new. It's just like a new character practically, you know? Not a new character, but it's an association that I just don't automatically have. I'm not like, when Egghead was starting, I wasn't like, oh boy, an arc about science and Vegapunk and shit. This is Sanji's arc. You know, I was just like, maybe it'll be Frankie's arc. But yeah. He's not a cyborg. He's an, I don't know what the word is, augmented human. I don't fucking know. Let's get the likes up to 400 real quick. Let's see. Okay, where are we at? Okay, JP, thanks for the 10. 1,000 Year Blood War minimizes a lot of the pacing issues, but also just moves along so fast to hide some cheap, unchanged writing. Like Yamamoto fighting a clone all along. Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, I wasn't watching 1,000 Year Blood War weekly. I caught up to it. And so I was kind of like just so surprised that all these new anime viewers were experiencing 1,000 Year Blood War for the first time, having not read in the manga and just gushing over it and talking about how great it was. I was like, okay, but the other shoe's going to drop soon. Like, people will start talking about how dumb it is. Like, the Yamamoto fight was approaching, and I was just like, okay, So once this fight drops, I'm going to see it all over Twitter, everyone making fun of how dumb it is. But no, everyone was gassing it. I was like, why is everyone talking this fight up so much, right? So then I eventually catch up on Thousand Year Blood War. I watch it. I think the Yamamoto fight is amazing, beautifully done. And I'm like, why did I think this was so dumb in the manga? Like, it wasn't that bad. Like I mean, not even not bad. I was like, this was great. So then I go back and read it in the manga. And then I remember the stupidity. I'm not going to spoil it for people, but just like, it's perfectly symbolic of representative of just what Thousand Year Blood War was like in the manga, which is just dumbass made up bullshit after dumbass made up bullshit, like shoehorned in, fights not making any, like fights having the dumbest reasons for being won, super specific ability being countered by super random specific ability being invented seemingly on the spot. That it's just what Thousand Year Blood War was. And as you're saying, but it's still there even with the new stuff. So a lot of it is toned down from what I can see and what I can remember, and it's smoothed over. Sorry, with just better direction, atmosphere, tone, presentation. A lot of that goes a long way when you're presenting everything else so artistically, and you're I would say it's not fundamentally changing the writing that much, but it is smoothing the edges. It's definitely smoothing the edges. So you can still see the core writing problems and bits of stupidity, but it doesn't feel as intrusive and abrasive, and you can give yourself in more just to the visual beauty, the cinematic beauty, the artistry, etc. Right? You can just give yourself in more to that, right? And some of the changes they've made have been huge, like what they did with the last couple episodes of the latest season, right? Like they took some of the absolute worst writing decisions and just nixed them and gave us something much better. I definitely think it's still got your writing issues for sure, but it's been shaved down and smoothed over a lot, enough so that it can be a really, really enjoyable story with the just with all of the animation and production that we're getting around it. Kind of like Demon Slayer. Demon Slayer, I know they didn't change the writing much, but Demon Slayer's just the whole production of Demon Slayer. It's so much fucking, I don't know. Demon Slayer's fucking beautiful to watch. J Presby, thanks for the 5. Who's more likely to gain control over an ancient weapon, Revs, Cross Guild, or Blackbeard Pirates? I don't think the Revs. I think the Blackbeard Pirates. I think the Blackbeard Pirates, I've hinted at it. I mean, I even said it earlier in this stream, what I think, which ancient weapon I think they're gonna get, but I'm saving the full discussion for a video down the line. Amartya Sinha, thanks for the 2. Blackbeards versus Straw Hats to fill power vacuum after world government taken down. So it's funny because we're going full circle. So I dropped a video, and now, like, one of the earliest video analysis I did on the first, I've done a couple Blackbeard analysis, but the first big one I did, the first big Blackbeard analysis video I did, I went in depth into why I think that the direction that the story is headed is basically the world government. Sorry. Man. The world government being taken down, and then Luffy and Blackbeard being the final battle to basically determine what the dawn of the world actually looks like. Like, in the rubble of the world government, is the new era, the new dawn, the new age going to be defined by Blackbeard or by Luffy? Like, are we going to get the sun, or are we going to enter an even deeper darkness than the world government, right? I go into a lot of reasons there. That was the first Blackbeard analysis video I did. Since then, a lot has changed, and I've begun to feel like, okay, Blackbeard gets defeated first, then Emu and the Celestial Dragons, they're the final villains. Now I'm kind of circling back around to, like, fuck, maybe I was on it the first time. Maybe it is ultimately going to be, like, Emu, Celestial Dragons, etc., they're torn down, but then the final question is, like, ultimately it's a story about pirates. Is it a story that's going to come down to two pirates fighting to determine the future of the world? I think that's very possible. Still would lean towards Emu, but just a few more things, few more dominoes fall in a certain way, and I might start swinging over to Blackbeard being the final villain as a possibility. Rihanna Zara, thanks for the 5. How does the Blackbeard triplets theory explain Blackbeard using multiple fruits in the same scene? The idea that Blackbeard might have multiple consciousnesses within his body, which would allow him multiple consciousnesses, multiple souls, if you would like to say. We know souls are a thing in One Piece based on Brook's fruit, and based on Big Mom and her fruit. he might have multiple souls in his body. If he has multiple souls in his body, then maybe he's able to take in multiple devil fruits. So it's not just that he's a triplet, it's the idea that he might have two other souls, and based on the history of him that we know of, the two souls of his sisters maybe in his body. Ice96, thanks for the 5. Stealing the Seraphim was a good idea, so kudos to that person. But what about Punk Records? As if you wouldn't want the smartest man's knowledge. That's entirely possible as well. I still feel like Punk Records plays a role in this arc before all is said and done. I just don't know what that role is. For a while, I thought it would be destroyed, maybe even by Luffy in a big fight, and that would leak information to the outside world. But I don't know. Yeah, Punk Records being destroyed feels like it fits. Or something has to happen with it, right? Otherwise, what's the point? Out by Panda says, Morge, people are asking for post-Egghead bounties. Let me put out next video, and then next stream I will talk about post-Egghead bounties, because a lot of what I want to say regarding next video and how I think, like, you'll understand. There's one thing I want to talk about next video, and once I get that idea out there, then I can talk about post-Egghead bounties, because things could go two wildly different ways depending on what people believed happened at the aftermath of this battle. It's not like next video is about that, but there's a part of next video that is relevant to that discussion, if that makes sense. Jaren's Rambo, thanks for the 2. Give us a redhead video theory. How they get to Marineford. Red-haired pirates, how'd they get to Marineford? Simple. Kaido saw a stronger pirate crew, and he left. That's it. That's all I got. Old Green Knees, thanks for the 5. How much would I have to tip for the rest of the stream to be at Lucci and Loro? Lucci's legit top 50 on the planet at this point. It's not even top. I mean, like, I literally in the top 30, the last top 30 stream I did, one of the most controversial picks I had for some reason was people upset that I had Lucci higher than I think I had Lucci above Katakuri or something like that. Simply because I think that based on the Gear 5th fight, Lucci did better against Luffy than Katakuri currently would. I don't think Katakuri would last even Lucci at least clashed with Luffy like in Haki, right? Was Luffy trying that hard? No. But Katakuri is not even going to clash with Luffy using Haki. It's not even happening. It's a joke to think that Katakuri's the amount of Katakuri didn't even have advanced armament Haki, right? Like, we gas up Katakuri's observation, like his future sight, but Lucci can very clearly use the second level of Ryo, as shown by his Rokugan abilities. Those are very clearly Haki abilities at this point. He used it to take out Atlas. Lucci's extremely fast. He's an awakened Zoan. Katakuri literally can't put Lucci down, I don't think. In terms of damage output, whatever. I had Katakuri below Lucci back then. People called me crazy. And the only reason being that people were like, look how easily Lucci lost to Luffy. It's like, dude, Luffy is a Yonko. He would beat Katakuri even, the simple fact that Luffy was goofing around, but the simple fact that Lucci lasted 2 chapters and took some hits and clashed a bit, that alone scales him above Katakuri. It just does. Katakuri cannot do that against a Yonko. He would not be able to do that against Luffy. Just think about if you stack up all the improvements Luffy has had since Whole Cake Island, even Luffy barely trying should just take care of Katakuri in a couple panels, which he didn't do against Lucci. I think that's being proven further with the Zoro situation, which is that Zoro's going to need to use Advanced Conqueror's Haki or some of his big guns, maybe even as far as Ashura, who knows, to take out Lucci. Yeah. Talos says, Morge, you had Lucci above Sanji. That was too... Well, I had Lucci above Sanji because I think a lot of people in that stream, it's hard to explain, but at that point we were at a certain point in the story where, Sanji was kind of getting, it was hard to make good arguments for Sanji because it was kind of you would have to kind of just do it on blind faith that Sanji was tougher than we expected. I could easily have seen it being possible. I think if you go back and look at that stream, I even kind of wanted to put Sanji higher. I personally was I think you could argue Sanji above Kid or Law, but I got the sense that people at that point in time didn't view Sanji in that same light. You had a lot of people saying that King would destroy Sanji, stuff like that, or Katakuri would still beat Sanji. it felt a little too bold to put Sanji there, even though I'm always going to think that Sanji's not going to be too far off from where Zoro is. Kanerp says Katakuri literally said there's levels to even armament haki. Yeah, but Katakuri doesn't have them. He was referring to his fists being a fucking square, not advanced armament. If you look at like, what do you call? If you look at the fights, it's just him turning his fists into a square, and he's got better armament haki than Luffy. But like even Cracker had better armament haki than Luffy. That's not Katakuri hinting at Ryo. It's not like Luffy ever used what do you call? It's not like Luffy ever flashed back and was like, oh, that's what Katakuri was using against me or something like that. Jean-Pierre says, so are we saying Lucci is strong or even stronger than King? No, not until we see what Zoro needs to use to beat Lucci. Because if Zoro just breaks out, like, if next chapter Zoro's using Advanced Conqueror's Haki, and it's like clear that he was not using Advanced Conqueror's Haki prior to this, if it's clear, and then he just one-shots Lucci, then it's like, okay, Lucci's not as strong as King. If it turns out Zoro was, to some degree, using Advanced Conqueror's Haki and the fight's been going this long, then yeah, Lucci's stronger than King. K-Mai says, so Morge bowed to peer pressure, lol? Yeah, I did, in that sense. But that's because, for anything else, I would always have a strong argument for why. Like, look at evidence, look at feats, etc. With Sanji, I didn't have an argument. Like, that was like a feelings sort of thing. That was just like, I feel like it's likely that Sanji is still going to be close to Zoro. But I couldn't actually sit down and point to a bunch of feats or things that Sanji's done that would be like, yeah, Sanji would be above Katakuri, you know? Now I could, but at the time I couldn't. Like, I mean, think back, like, what was going on back then? Sanji, I think he, like, so you guys remember there was a scene where S-Shark attacked all the Straw Hats? Not the scene where Sanji tanked the punch from S-Shark. The scene earlier, like, as they're starting to explore the lab, S-Shark gets into a fight with all the Straw Hats, and Sanji, like, kicks him once. That was the type of shit that Sanji was doing back then. Basically, like, not very impressive. Like, those were the type of feats he had post-Egghead. Does that make sense? Anyway. Let's move it along. Sean Easton, thanks for the 5. So, Van Augur was sending Luffy food, plus Devon got Luffy's face and body. That's very, very possible. He went missing, basically confirmed. Agenda was hilarious. I don't think it's hilarious. Like, I would have loved for Kizaru to have been the one to be giving Luffy food. I would have loved for that to have been the case. You think Devon got Luffy's face and body? If Devon moved him? Do we think Van Augur was the one sent? Like, do we think this was the work of the Blackbeard Pirates? The thing is that, like, if Devon, I think that they would have, I don't know, because I feel like if they had that opportunity, then wouldn't they do something to Luffy? Like, wouldn't they off Luffy? Like, they're Devil Fruit hunters. If Van Augur had the opportunity to just kill Luffy, or Devon had the opportunity to do something to Luffy to get the Nika fruit of all fruits, I don't think that it was them. I mean, here's the thing. It could easily have been them, but if it was, then it's kind of nonsensical. It's kind of dumb. You get what I'm saying? Because it's just like, why wouldn't the Blackbeard Pirates just kill Luffy and take his fruit then? You know? I mean, if you remember, Burgess even literally was tried to kill Luffy at Dressrosa. So it's not as though that's not something that they want to do. During Luffy's, it's in fact an identical scenario where Luffy was drained for that 10 minutes that he was being carried around in Dressrosa. He was drained. He couldn't do anything. He was tapped out. Burgess jumps in, ready to kill Luffy, take his fruit, and then he gets interrupted by Sabo. So why wouldn't they do that right here, especially now that it's confirmed that Luffy's fruit is actually the fucking Nika fruit? If the Blackbeard Pirates had Luffy vulnerable, I don't think that they would, it just doesn't make any sense. I see where you're coming from. I think it's possible, but if Oda writes it, it's also at the same time stupid, because it just doesn't make any sense. Like, Blackbeard taking out a Yonko, as well as the Yonko that's essentially his biggest modern-day rival, and who has the most valuable, like, Zoan fruit that you could possibly want in the world, like the prophesied fucking fruit. I don't know. K-Maya, thanks for the 5. Do you think Edison mentioning headlines and big news could foreshadow Morgan's showing up here at Egghead? Do you think Edison mentioning headlines and big news Mm, I do think that Morgans could show up for sure. I don't know if like yeah, like this could be yeah. That could be essentially Oda like foreshadowing that because I do think that Morgan shows up more so because I think it's important Vivi shows up, but yeah, for the Egghead incident to be broadcasted to the world, I think Morgan showing up does make a lot of sense. I'm on board. Joseph S says Kizaru gave Luffy food. You can't change my mind. I like to think we'll get clarity on it soon. It's more interesting writing if it was Kizaru for sure. All right, guys, let's get the likes up to 400 real quick. I should say that more energetically. Let's get the likes up to 400 real quick. We're almost there. Keanu Reeves, thanks for the 5. I can see the difference between Nika and the Smile. I think it's like that because Smile Fruits brought false happiness. Nika brings true happiness. That is actually a great little point. That's a great point. That that's actually symbolically very important for the Wano finale. So that's actually a great point, a very analytically astute point. Yeah. Eric Gelato, thanks for the 2, man. Blackbeard is taking Imu's throne, obvious at this point. Hey, I don't know if it's obvious, but I'm beginning to swing back in towards that direction. I used to be 100% on the Blackbeard becomes the final villain train. Then I switched over to the Emu's most likely the final villain. Now I'm back towards like, okay, we got a horse race here. We got a horse race. Like Oda's being, I think at the very least, Oda's being unpredictable with the direction for his final villain in the story. I like Blackbeard way better as a concept than Emu. I think Emu has potential to be obviously like a very like one of those like broke, super strong, all powerful villains, like a more traditional evil empire tyrant type villain. But Blackbeard's just a much more interesting, unique villain to One Piece, you know? He's like Blackbeard kind of and the type of character and type of villain he is and his rise, it feels very symbolic of just One Piece's writing and One Piece's like a One Piece unique type of villain, right? Like One Piece has its fair share of good villains, but I feel like a lot of them, you know, I don't feel like most of them are as iconic as other manga's villains, like, you know, like a Madara Uchiha or an Aizen or something like that. A lot of that is simply because most One Piece villains are short-lived. They're isolated to their individual arcs, so they just don't get the story time to build a legacy as grand as, like, you know, they're fucking talking about Madara from chapter like 10 or whatever. And like Aizen's obviously a huge part for the entire narrative of like 50% of Bleach. But you know, Blackbeard's the first villain that really has the potential, and he's just so different. I feel like he represents a lot of what makes One Piece different from other series. So I would love for Blackbeard to be the final villain. I'm not going to bet the house on it just yet, but I think the door is definitely open back up to that being the possibility. Amartya Sinha, thanks for the 2. Why people mad Lucci strong? They all want Croc strong. I think people are mad that, how do I say this? So it's two things. One is that I missed another. How did I miss it? Okay, let me reload the supers. I'm sorry I missed one. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like I missed it. Okay, I'll catch that. Let me just reload. Hold on. Why are people mad Lucci strong? They all want Croc strong. So I think the first thing is just this, which is with Crocodile, we had I think the Impel Down Marineford arc got a lot of people back on board the Crocodile train, whereas we never really had anything like that for Lucci. I'm not going to get into the scaling of Crocodile and Impel Down and Marineford because I think there's two very different avenues you can look at it at. I think like you can actually look at it in one avenue where you actually break down everything that Crocodile did in the manga, because the anime actually exaggerates it a bit. But you can break down everything Crocodile did in the manga and actually say that, wait, this actually isn't that strange compared to what he did in that. Like, he actually does seem to still be around Alabasta level. He's just getting a little better durability feats. You can look at it that angle, or you can look at it like, well, portrayal-wise, it does seem like he's being portrayed as much more significant than he was in Alabasta. I don't know why I'm getting the nitty-gritty of it, but like at the very least, we all came away from it feeling like Crocodile is a lot more badass than we gave him credit for back in Alabasta. And I think a lot of people now have kind of made it their headcanon that Crocodile actually used to be really, really strong, and he just didn't have Haki at the time of Alabasta. He, like, lost it or something. I think a lot of people have that headcanon now. So Crocodile feels like this sort of, like, actually high-level figure that was sort of fell from grace and really underperformed against Luffy. And now we're getting to see him, like, not only get back to what he once was, but probably become an even stronger version than what he once was, right? So there's a sort of element of excitement to Crocodile. Like, we're getting to see who he, like a character that had a lot of potential, now at his full potential. Lucci's different in that Lucci was really a very, like, almost a one-to-one match for Luffy, right? And he's, like, a product of lots of physical fighting and training and such. And, you know, when we meet Lucci, he's already in the prime of his career, kind of. Right? Like, he's, you know, he feels like he's in the same place as Luffy, right? In terms of his rise, whatever. So when Lucci is beaten pre-time skip, the next time we're seeing him is so much later, post-time skip. It feels like we should kind of just be past this guy, kind of. Like, with Crocodile, it's like, okay, I'm excited to see what he's got. With Lucci, it's like, yeah, he's probably still a big threat, but, like, we've gone through so much since then. Like, we've gone through Wano, we've gone through all these big battles and stuff. Like, we should be past that. And then I think the bigger thing is I think people were still hyped for Lucci before Luffy fought him. I think people were still hyped for Lucci, not quite in the same way as Crocodile, but people were still excited to see what he could do until he fought Luffy. And because he fought Luffy, and it's just like, there was no possible way for Lucci to end up looking good in that fight, because Gear 5th is just this form that is built to just clown on the opponent. It is literally a form that is designed to make a joke out of the opponent, right? It is created to make the opponent look like a joke, right? The entire fight is Luffy clowning on Lucci because that's just what the form does. So it's a combination of factors, which is just like, we already felt like we should just be past Lucci. Then we get to see Luffy, like, just make a joke out of him for 2 chapters. And on the one hand, if you're looking at it objectively, it's like Lucci hung in with Luffy like a Yonko. That's, like, granted taking it easy, but he still hung with a Yonko and, like, clashed and traded blows and took blows and stuff like that for 2 chapters. That's damn impressive. Like, there's like maybe 30 people in the world that could do that, maybe less, right? Honestly, probably less at this point in time. But just the vibe of the fight felt so humiliating for Lucci that it just is hard to take him seriously now. So yeah, it's just like Lucci, his one showing post time skip was just him getting clowned so hard. It's hard to take him seriously now, and it feels more like, damn. So Zoro, like, basically the fact that Zoro and Lucci are going even right now, you know, if you're kind of thinking about it, it means that Zoro would be getting clowned by Luffy like this if they were fighting, right? Granted, Zoro has more in the tank. We know Zoro has advanced Conqueror's Haki as Ashura. He's shown what he can do against a Yonko in Wano, but it's just not a good look for, like, Zoro to be fighting so seriously against a guy that got so embarrassed by his captain a little bit ago. That's kind of the sum up of it. By the way, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Crocodile is not as strong as Lucci right now. That's entirely possible as well. We really don't know where I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the same ballpark, you know? Like, pre-time skip, Lucci was definitely portrayed as stronger than Crocodile until Impel Down and Marineford came around, and then it kind of swapped our perceptions. It's like, okay, what was going on with Crocodile in Alabasta? Was he like, maybe he didn't have Haki, maybe he's just gotten stronger in Impel Down, who knows? But I wouldn't be surprised if Lucci and Crocodile are supposed to be in the same ballpark. It's just that Crocodile, we have more of that ambiguity, that hype of, like, what could he actually have been at full strength or whatever. Whereas with Lucci, it's just like, okay, been there, done that. Anyway, the final storm, thanks for the 10. What if Caribou being a Blackbeard fan is an act? He finally tells the mystery man about the ancient weapons. Blackbeard pirates over here kill him, then Devon copies him, and they ambush the man. Okay, that is a very convoluted, not convoluted, but it's like a multi-step theory. Whew. I don't know, man. I think, like, it's hard to narrow down. Okay, so you said the possibilities are Crocodile or Burn Scar. I just don't think it's Crocodile. Like, I don't think Crocodile's that significant that, like, Caribou this entire time was planning on going, like this entire time Oda was building up this Caribou thread specifically for Crocodile. I guess it leads to Cross Guild. Um, so that could be possible. But I just feel like it fits a little bit. Like Blackbeard's significance is so high, and like why wouldn't it just be Blackbeard? I don't know what the reasoning would be that Oda's kind of like there's nothing about this that makes me think that this might be fake, because from the beginning, like all the signs kind of suggested, like I mean, like a character that was someone that's so influential that a pirate from the paradise, like first half of the Grand Line, Caribou, is in service of them, right? That feels like it's got to be Yonko. You know, it feels like it's got to be Blackbeard or something. All right, let me catch which supers did I miss. K-Nerb says hung with a Yonko. I mean, the fight wasn't over instantly in a chapter, like it would be for Luffy against like most characters. You know what I mean? Like if you go back and read that fight, it's I think people get the wrong idea. I'm not saying that like Lucci was going toe to toe with Luffy, but he did way like you have to go back and look. Like most people are saying that Luffy would one shot him. He did not one shot him. Like he ultimately didn't. In fact, like Lucci took some like multiple blows from Luffy in Gear 5th and like kept going. Lucci clashed with Luffy in Gear 5th, you know? Was Luffy using Advanced Conqueror's Haki? No. But at the same time, like, he did way better than what people were saying before the fight. Like, way better than what people... Like, nobody thought the fight was going 2 chapters. If you go back and look at the discussions back then, everyone was like, yeah, Lucci's going to get one-shotted. It's going to last 1 chapter at most. Lucci went 2 chapters. That's impressive. You're like, well, Luffy didn't go, like, all out. It's like, yeah, but, like, who the... Like Luffy's not gonna fucking use Bajra Gun in the first chapter. Like, yeah, if Luffy actually went all out, then he stomps like almost every character, you know, except for like a handful of characters, right? Fact is, Luffy went into the strongest form. He was using, as far as we could tell, like some high level Haki, you know, not Advanced Conqueror's Haki, but you know, he pulled out tricks and stuff like that. He hit Lucci a few times. Lucci kept going. That is like you have to understand that is more impressive than pretty much you would expect from pretty much everyone except for like Yonko first mate level characters. And even then, I don't see Katakuri lasting as long as Lucci did based on the way that fight went. Katakuri would not last that many hits. He just wouldn't. He wouldn't last 1 hit against what Luffy, like, look at the Whole Cake fight. Katakuri wouldn't last 1 hit. It just wouldn't happen. He wouldn't go 2 chapters. It's still a low diff. But it like, it's like Lucci did better against Luffy than Luffy did against Kaido Act 1. Think about it that way. And Kaido was trying even less than Luffy was in his fight against Lucci. Like Kaido Act 1, he did one move, he did Thunder Bagua and it was over. Like he wasn't in he didn't even use his, he wasn't in hybrid form. He wasn't like doing any, like Luffy went Gear 5th, his Awakened Zone form, and Lucci lasted 2 chapters, you know? That's something. Hunter, message redacted. I don't know what that is. Old Green Knees, thanks for the 2. Power scale Lucci when if he does beat Zoro. I don't know. Like I've still got I have Lucci exactly where I had him before, which is like around first mate tier, like around first mate level. Is he going to be stronger than King or not? I don't know. Like, let's see what Zoro needs to do to beat him. Okay, can someone fill me in if I've missed any supers? Because I refreshed. I can't see exactly what super. Let me do a quick skim. I don't think I'm missing anything. If I missed something, it's got to be back. Can anyone fill me in if I missed something? Talahes says Katakuri should not be grouped up with the other Yonko commanders. King is one-shotting. What? King is one-shotting Lucci? King is one-shotting Katakuri? I don't think so. I think Katakuri could dodge King for a good deal. I think like okay, Katakuri does okay. So with the Yonko first commanders, right? I don't count Shiryu because The Blackbeard part, like, in general, the Blackbeard pirates right now, even though down the line they will likely be stronger than the previous Yonko crews we've dealt with, it's clear that they're still growing. Like, Van Augur, even this chapter explained, we're still growing, right? Like, but you look at, like, Blackbeard and his crew, like, they're not at the same level as previous Yonko crews yet, as far as we can tell. Like, Blackbeard himself isn't as strong as Kaido was, right? He's not even as strong as Big Mom was, you know? Like, look at his difficulty versus Law versus, like, Big Mom versus Kid and Law, and both of them going all out and, like, cheating the fuck against her, and it still took 10,000 tons of TNT to actually do anything there, right? Versus Blackbeard, it does look like he had an extended fight with Law just 1v1. Law could not 1v1 Big Mom for any period of time whatsoever without Kid distracting her. The reality is that the Blackbeard pirates are not quite normal Yonko level yet. Alright? Especially, like, just look at what happened to them at the Hachinosu raid. Like, they were basically all just random assorted fodder. Even Shiryu was just random fodder that only could really do anything while Garp was fully focused on an actual top-tier character like Aokiji, right? So I don't count them. So if we're looking at the actual Yonko first mates, as I see them, Ben Beckman, Marco, King, Katakuri, Zoro, right? It's just really fucking hard to like. It's just really hard to like. I think most people would say that Katakuri's towards the bottom of that, but then like it's like, well, what about like Katakuri was so hyped up? I think a lot of people just assume Ben Beckman's at the top. I kind of do too, just because, again, just stupid aura reasons. But like, it has some weight, like just the aura, the mystery around a character, and you know, the Marines even hyped up that Shanks has. His greatest strength is his, or like the most notable trait of the Red-Haired Pirates is that they've got very strong individual fighters. It's like a lot of people would bet Beckman up there. Marco has by far, and like, it's not even fucking remotely close. Marco has the best feats by a country mile compared to the remaining Yonko commanders, Yonko first mates, except arguably Zoro, because Zoro Zoro scarred Kaido. Sorry. Zoro's rooftop feats might put him above Marco. And just the fact that Zoro has advanced Conqueror's Haki, which it seems none of the other Yonko first mates do. So Zoro could go above Marco. But then after that, like, comparing Marco to King and, like, Katakuri, Marco's feats is just, like, it's a fucking comical to even compare. Like, Marco literally made Big Mom fucking run away. Not to say that Marco can beat Big Mom, but at the end of the day, like, it's just, he's got such a ridiculously impressive rap sheet. It's like, if you've literally got a Yonko at least saying that you're too much trouble for me to deal with right now, that's huge, right? So then it's like, okay, I don't think Katakuri's on Marco's level. I don't think he's on Ben Beckman's level. I don't think he's necessarily on Zoro's level. So I was like, okay, is he on King's level? I don't know. Like, I think there's a first mate solid spectrum, and I wouldn't say Katakuri's like a tier below everybody. He's just, it feels like he just doesn't have the firepower or the durability that the rest do. And he also doesn't have, like he needs to win just through physical fighting, pretty much. But he doesn't, he doesn't have the firepower to do it. He can dodge better than anybody, right? He can dodge better, because of Future Sight. But it's like, that alone just doesn't seem like it holds up that well to the crazy abilities that these other guys have. I don't know. That's just me, like, spitball. Like, I like Katakuri a lot. It just doesn't feel quite like... I just don't know. He also doesn't have the feats. He doesn't have feats that the other characters do. Tomahawk PWPT, thanks for the 5. Well, really just Marco. The others don't really have feats either. Tomahawk PWPT, thanks for the 5. Why do we continue to downplay a guy who has Future Sight and the speed to act on what he sees? I mean, just catching up on what I said before, it's like, just what I said. He can't tank a lot of hits. Again, he probably can avoid most other characters' attacks, but, like, there's some limit to that, you know? And he just doesn't have a lot of damage output. Like, King's attacks are really fucking strong, you know? Like, you know? Like, Zoro's attacks have fucking advanced Conqueror's Haki, you know? Like... Ben Beckman, we can assume a lot. Marco's never been shown to be crazy strong attack power, but, like, people showed me panels that Marco's even able to make King bleed. So if Marco can make King bleed, then Katakuri's shit out of luck there. It's just like, how much can Katakuri even do damage wise to these other characters? Because Marco's the best damage tank in the entire story. Then King's like probably right, like King as a Lunarian's like up there, obviously. And yeah, like Zoro can obviously take a tremendous amount of damage. I don't know. It's just hard to say that Katakuri can beat a lot of these guys for sure. Like, I think he's still in the same tier, in the same tier as them. Rock Nation Brunch, thanks for the 5. I wonder how Naval Intelligence didn't know Blackbeard crew was headed towards Egghead, since they seem to easily track Yonko movements. I feel like maybe they track movements in a more... Well, they were thrown off when Blackbeard parts showed up at Amazon Lily as well, you know? Like, they were like, fuck, Blackbeard's here, so... I think that might be an inconsistency thing. Because you're right, they have been shown to be good at tracking in the past, but then at the same time, I don't know. Laon Adu says it's called recency bias. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Oof says Katakuri has the disadvantage of being shown first. I mean, at the same time, you could just say that that's intended, which is that, it's like a nice ramp, like, fighting the weakest first, and then you're getting the stronger and stronger. I forgot about obviously for counting Rayleigh, it's just like, that's a wash. It's fucking Rayleigh. I mean, yeah, Rayleigh fucking made Blackbeard run away, Talos says, Morge, you're forgetting in earlier discussions you agreed King's explosion is one-shotting Cat. I think I was convinced around to believing that. I also don't base things just on matchups, though. So, like, even if King is I would say King is a poor matchup for Katakuri. But then I brace it as, like, look across the board. I'm like, King is, like, a tricky matchup for Katakuri because I just don't know how Katakuri would put him down. And King has, like, yeah, like you said, like, big explosive attacks that would be difficult, we can assume, for Katakuri to dodge, even if he uses Future Sight. But then you look across the board, and it's like everybody else in that tier also, like Marco, Zoro, like Katakuri would have difficult, like, matchup problem. I think Katakuri is the best shot fighting Zoro. I think if you look at the first mates that we know of, Katakuri is the best shot fighting Zoro. I also think Katakuri would beat Shiryu just because of observation hockey. Yeah, like, I think I still put Zoro above Katakuri overall, but if you're talking just matchups, I think Katakuri's got a good shot against Zoro. Akash Panda says Navy doesn't have manpower right now. That's true. Navy is stretched thin. Yeah. K-Nerp says, does anyone think King would do any better against Whole Cake Island Luffy than Katakuri did? That's so stupid. Oh, I think King would do... Like, Luffy could not beat King at that point in time. Because, like, to beat King, you need the damage output. And, like, not just advanced armament hockey. Like, you need advanced Conqueror's hockey to damage King. That was established in the Zoro fight. Because Zoro was already using, like, advanced armament. He was already using Ryo attacks, basically. Like, you needed advanced Conquerors to beat King, is what was kind of shown. Like, that level of... I mean, we've seen other characters like Marco be able to damage King. But, like, Luffy was nowhere near that point. Like, Zoro was hitting King with like, Zoro was literally hitting Kings with attacks that were cutting Kaido. Like the Twister attack and things like that. And it was doing nothing until he got Advanced Conqueror's Haki. So Luffy needed, like... Luffy was weeks away from being able to get to the point where he could actually damage King. Like, he needed the Hyogoro explanation. He needed to learn how Ryo worked. He needed stuff like that, right? And I don't think it would be a case like Luffy could just learn it on the fly again, because you, like... At least with Future Sight, it was like he's kind of learning from what Katakuri's doing over time. And Katakuri's not, like, really doing that high level of damage, so Luffy's got the luxury of learning over the course of, like, 12 hours how to do it. King's attacks are a lot more brutal, and, like, we already saw, Luffy needed the 2 weeks of training to really get down advanced armament, Ryo, etc., and then, like, Haki blooms during the Kaido fight. Like, it took him a lot longer to get that damage level stuff down. K-Nerps is not asking Luffy's performance, I'm asking King's performance. Yeah, King would do better against, like, King wouldn't lose to Luffy at that point in time. Like, it's just, that's a really bad matchup for Luffy. Talos says, Morge, one Dragon Twister from Zoro is one-shotting Katakuri, and he's not dodging a giant tornado. I mean, like, are we... I think Katakuri, like, speed-wise, could he not dodge a tornado? I don't know. Like, I'm not saying Zoro... Like, when I say Katakuri is a bad matchup for Zoro, I'm not saying Katakuri beats Zoro. I'm just saying that, like, I think Zoro is stronger than Katakuri, but I think Katakuri would give him, like, a better, like, a more difficult challenge. Like, I think Katakuri's got more of a shot there than against Katakuri, than, like, Katakuri versus King. Lana Deuce says, Marco's never shown attacks with the striking strength of Diced Mochi and Mochi Anemone. Again, we saw Marco damage King. Like, he was able to make King bleed. People showed me that panel. People linked me that panel. I was like, okay, conceded. Marco's got the attack power. Also, just, like, Marco's... Oh, shit. Derek Miles says Big Mom has better durability than King, and Iron Beans will eventually wear her down. I don't think Big Mom has better durability than King. I mean, there's two things. Like, one is, like, how tough your exterior... Like, I think we use these terms interchangeably, like durability and endurance or whatever. Big Mom has better endurance. Like, she can take more... Like, what it takes to physically damage Big Mom is less than what it takes to physically damage King. We already saw that attacks that were damaging, like, Kaido on the roof could not damage King downstairs. Like, the same exact attacks, like Dragon Twister and stuff. If we scale Big Mom's durability to Kaido's, that means that King, Lunarian's durability, like, their actual physical exterior is tougher than even Kaido and Big Mom. However, like, Kaido and Big Mom can actually, like, take more damage. Like, they can, like, even though their skin is not as hard, they can take more damage, right? Like, if, like, King, all it took is one good attack, and then he was done, right? Kaido can take, like, 1,000,000 good attacks and still keep going. Big Mom can take a lot of damage and keep going. Those are two different things, right? Like, one is how much does it take to actually hurt you, and then two is, like, once you're getting hurt, how much can you take before you go down? Big Mom and Kaido have King beat in that category, but not the first category. All right, guys. We're gonna wrap it up here. Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Really, really good chapter, and I think we're getting to the juicy part of Egghead, so it's all uphill from here. All right. Yeah, and I will talk to you all later.